Welcome into the Ryan Ripken Show. Happy Thursday. It's almost Friday. We're almost to the weekend. We hope you are enjoying your week. We got a lot of things planned here. So let's talk about what's on that list here. First off, it's going to feel a little strange. Ravens aren't playing on Sunday, but they are playing on Monday. Ravens, Chargers. We have some points we'll get into later in the show. Nick Moore of the Baltimore Ravens, as always, future Pro Bowl long snapper, is going to join us. Talk a little bit about a reunion with what some people are calling is just Baltimore West or the LA Ravens. But we are going to touch a little bit on some conversations around the AFC. Why? Because it does matter to the rest of the division, the Ravens, and why some people don't think Pittsburgh is truly a contender despite their big victory against Baltimore. We'll go down the list. There was some news around the AFC, and unfortunately for the Jets, unfortunately for Jets fans, another move happened a couple days ago. Joe Douglas fired. Now they're truly cleaning house. And if we want to stay in the New York region, the Giants are doing some wild things, man. And I feel terrible for Daniel Jones, but we got to talk about that. Adam Schefter had a video on that, but he also gave some stories into what Adam Schefter does in his personal time, breaking stories, go around college. And I think that's about it for today's show. If you guys saw yesterday, we did a hot stove on Wednesdays, so put that in your calendar. Hot stove Wednesdays moving forward so you guys can get your baseball fix. And obviously when baseball season comes back around, we will have that more on our Monday and Thursday programs. And scene. Let us know where you're tuning in from, but we're kind of back in the same spots now. Brad, behind the scenes, you did a great job, by the way, Brad.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
On Monday. Thank you very much.
Yeah, a little rusty. It's been a while since I've actually led anything, but appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep. And then Zach is...
Yeah, mustache. I had to change the vibes. I'm not going to lie.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
after the Ravens lost.
Time out. I didn't even put that together. Shit, you did shave.
Yeah, the beard's gone.
I didn't even put it together because I just continued.
Yeah. It's the first time I've shaved in probably 2 months. It's because obviously I get superstitious and the Ravens started playing well. So obviously had to do that. And the decision was aided because I was trimming my beard and I messed it up a lot. And to the point where I was like,
now the truth comes out.
Yeah. You kind of had those situations where you're like, do I try to see if this will grow back correctly and look good? Or do I had a hole in my beard, right here,
I've been there.
Yeah. So then that decision was made.
Yeah. I can't grow it fully out. I mean, you guys have seen me grow it.
That's a lie.
Back. I can grow it out.
I was going to say,
I can grow it out, and I can grow a nasty mustache.
I've seen the beard.
Hide your wife, hide your kids when I grow a mustache. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And what you do to get out of a slump in Wilmington, Delaware in high A, you do a goatee, you grow a mustache, you go out, you forget about all the troubles that you were having for 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, Brooks, he won't. That's the thing. Cantor won't. Rip just won't grow the beard.
Oh, I'm growing it a little bit right now.
No, that's just a fact.
You might think because of the beard that I'm really hairy, but I'm not.
Shaved.
Oh, good stuff. Hey, before we get into our program here, it is Throwback Thursday as well, guys. So happy throwback to you guys. And I am okay with embarrassing myself, but honestly, I did peak at an early age, fellas. And I mean, Rip used to be a handsome devil. So I got a couple photos for you guys.
Oh my goodness.
In honor of Throwback Thursday.
In honor of Throwback Thursday, we're going to go, and this is one of my favorite Will Smith lines, I think from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, was he went, Jean-Claude Van Damme, I look good. Well, you guys can be the judge. Let's pull this up. Come on. Oh, man.
Hell yeah.
So there's Ryan wearing a T-shirt underneath the polo shirt.
Little Kelly right there.
That is. And blonde hair.
Yeah.
Blonde hair there. Woo. It was close to going from super blonde to what it is now. It's kind of in between there.
Yeah.
So that looks hot. Then this one's going to be, I'll say I've looked better. Oh.
Oh, yeah. Braces and all. Look, I'm not going to lie. You're prettier than I am at that age.
Prettier?
Yeah.
But
I was a nerd and a half.
Yeah.
And at that age, my whole face was just covered in acne. I had pizza face for most of my high school career.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was bad.
That's tough. I just had bowl cuts at that time. Like that was my thing. Bowl cuts and braces.
Yeah.
Were my two things. I'll say like this look right here, kind of model-esque too. I kind of got the rosy cheeks a little bit. Honestly, I think so. But for this, I'll tell a quick story and we'll get into our program here. Come on, heel cinnamon. That's not the right photo. Come on. Where is it? Did not exist anymore? The other photo?
Yeah, what happened?
What happened to it?
I don't know.
Oh, there it is. Hey, that photo is actually at the premiere of the Pirates of the Caribbean, first one. Caribbean.
Nobody says Pirates of the Caribbean.
I know, and I know it's true, and I hate myself for it. I've never done that until now. I swear. I swear. Well, it's because someone was talking about, hey, you want to go to the Caribbean?
Now we're
right, and they mentioned that recently because there's a wedding. One of my friends is getting married in the Caribbean.
Got it.
But it should be the Caribbean. Anyway, that was the premiere. I got to meet Orlando Bloom. And
what?
It was great. We were about the same height as I was in that photo. And he talked about a guy that enjoyed the after party. But that was me at that premiere. Really cool moment. Kind of looking back. It was down at Disney. Obviously, I looked my best with a polo shirt and a T-shirt underneath that polo shirt. So that's my Throwback Thursday and that bowl cut. So, guys, what we do here is we're not afraid to talk about ourselves and get that out there.
Hey, was Orlando Bloom like that series? That was the only series where he was actually like a manly man.
Well, I'd say I would consider him in Lord of the Rings. Legolas was sliding down a shield,
but he was still kind of a feminine dude.
I don't know. I'd say
long hair. And
Legolas though was a guy. It's like, man, that guy's still a badass. I think those two movies were peak Orlando Bloom for
Orlando
his
Bloom
acting.
and Troy.
That's
giant. Yeah.
Puss in Boots. He caused the war. In that movie, he caused the war. Oh, goodness.
What a movie.
What a movie.
Hector!
And you just knew he was going to die.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the show now, everyone. Appreciate it, but let us know in the future. We want to see or hear about your Throwback Thursday moments. Those are ours. Guys, we understand that the Ravens lost to the Steelers, and I even saw that Marlon Humphrey said it on the Punchline podcast. Shit happens in Pittsburgh. How many times have I said shit just happens in Pittsburgh? It's true.
Yep.
But Pittsburgh now is one of the top teams in the AFC record-wise.
Yes.
They're number one in the AFC North, and they have a shot to be the top seed in the AFC.
Yeah.
So you would think that they would be contenders based off of that. Well, not so fast here. Dan Orlovsky went on Get Up and discussed that he is not buying Pittsburgh as AFC contenders. So let's play that clip for you, and then we will respond on the other side.
Is this Steelers team a Super Bowl contender?
I do not believe the team is a Super Bowl contender. I think the defense is Super Bowl caliber. I do not believe this offense can go in the playoffs against Josh Allen and the Bills, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, or Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and be good enough. It's been awesome. Russell Wilson's played fantastic, but the two issues are, one, they're poor in the red zone. Statistically, Russell's the worst red zone quarterback in the NFL right now. That's not an opinion. It's statistics. And then the second thing is, in the last 3 weeks, what was the big concern with Russell Wilson overall when it comes to his play? Holding on to the football. Sacks, right?
Negative plays.
He's got 11 sacks in the last 3 weeks. That's third most in the NFL behind a player like Caleb Williams. That's been the story of his whole season. So if you're the Steelers, you love the defense. My job is not to be a cheerleader. My job is to figure out why things will or will not happen. Okay? I don't believe that because of the lack of red zone performance and Russell holding on to the ball and not having those shots to take downfield, I don't think that offense is Super Bowl caliber.
All right. So here's the thing. It's hard for me to say that the Steelers are not going to contend in the AFC because they did beat Lamar and the Ravens again. I think it's matchup based, but I think Dan does have a point here with the Steelers are an explosive offense, but they aren't an efficient offense in the red zone, Zach. And that's going to matter. We're 6 field goals against, and we're going to take Lamar and the Ravens out. And I hate doing that. But it's no longer a fluke saying it's the penalties. It happens every time they play Pittsburgh. Every single time they play Pittsburgh, weird shit happens. But is Dan kind of onto something here that they are not as efficient? And now if Justin Fields may be different in the red zone, but Russell Wilson, the numbers are what the numbers are, Zach.
Yeah. No, Dan has a brilliant point. I think he's spot on. I don't think this offense can go out there. And once again, I'll take Lamar Jackson and the Ravens out because they own Lamar and them. That offense stifles against the Steelers. So I'll take Lamar Jackson and them out of it. I don't think the Steelers team could beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. I don't think the Steelers team could beat the Bills in the playoffs. I think the Steelers team would struggle with the Chargers in the playoffs. Is that to say that I don't think that we've seen them all year go out there and just simply find ways to win? They might do it. We've seen Mike Tomlin will teams, this defense, win games because they've done just enough. But if I was to put my money on the Steelers either making it to the Super Bowl or not, it's impossible for me to say, yeah, they're a top 3 team that I think makes it out of the AFC. Even though their record says they are, when you look at the schedule, yeah, they beat Lamar Jackson and the Ravens on 6 field goals. It's hard for me to see that winning against a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen now.
Yeah, I here's what I'll say to this. We've seen it before.
Yeah.
We've seen it before in Baltimore, where a team just absolutely dominates on defense and the offense has moments. We've seen a Baltimore team win on nothing but field goals with a should-be Hall of Famer Matt Stover. I think if we're talking about actual contenders, we're not saying who's going to win the Super Bowl. We're not saying the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl. But if we're going to talk about teams that are in contention, I think it's a bit naive to say that the Steelers aren't going to be contenders only because they are finding ways to win games. And if we can say that the Chiefs are finding ways to win games and they're not pretty, why can't we say that about the Steelers? And I think that we can.
Yeah.
They're finding ways to win games. Their offense is trying to figure out still this late into the season, but the defense is undeniably dominant.
I think that they're also a completely different team when it's in Pittsburgh. Like the ugly, just scratch and claw, duke it out games. If you got to go to Pittsburgh in the playoffs,
yeah,
I'm not saying I'm haunted by the idea of going to Pittsburgh. I'm not afraid of going into Pittsburgh to play the game. But to your point, Brad, their brand of football, no one likes playing fugly more than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, and you're going to get your ass beat.
If you get in that style game, Pittsburgh usually wins that game. But the one thing that's changed is that Russell Wilson does have the connection with George Pickens. But the one thing in the playoffs, as we know, and it happened with the Bills last year in the playoffs against the Chiefs, if you don't capitalize in the red zone and the team that does, that's going to be the difference. Because that's why Buffalo got taken out by Kansas City. They drove down the field. They ran the ball well, but then they couldn't get in the end zone enough. And Kansas City capitalized on their chances. Now, I know Trevor Bass missed a field goal, but take that part out of it here. Touchdowns in the red area are what's going to matter here most, which then I think a lot of teams are going to be in this type of race of it this year, which is kind of different than previous years when you think about it, right? So I'm with you. I can't take Pittsburgh out of this conversation.
No.
But I do think if I was going to say Buffalo, I think matches up better with them.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City does. If they played the Ravens, I hate to say it, but that's going to be an advantage for Pittsburgh because they know how to play those types of games.
I do. It's just also, we talk about what a shit show the Colts have been this year and what a shit show the Cowboys have been this year. That's the 2 Steelers losses. They lost to the Cowboys at home in Pittsburgh. The shit show Cowboys.
They're a good football team, though.
So
they're a good football team.
According to
the Baltimore Ravens also lost to the Brownies. So, I mean.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think this team is at any point, like we've seen them be this team that can scratch and claw way to a win with twice this year. They've won by kicking 6 field goals, no touchdowns. I think if you play Patrick Mahomes, if you play Josh Allen, that's not going to cut it. I just
disagree.
Think that
we look
that
at
wins.
Patrick Mahomes. We've already known that he's 15 and 11 touchdowns interception ratio.
Yeah, but that
he throws that many. The both defenses are going to have to show up in that game if they play each other. I just don't think that Patrick Mahomes is getting it done.
But
maybe
I trust
the old
Patrick
Patrick Mahomes.
against the Steelers defense more than I trust Russell Wilson against the Chiefs' very good defense right now.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I just think that's where the matchup is. At that point, it's two very good defenses going against offenses that are kind of middle of the row this year, middle of the pack. And if you're going to give me the middle of the pack offense led by Patrick Mahomes or led by 5-year-old Russell Wilson, I'm gonna have to give it to Mahomes there.
So I'm with you on that. And Mahomes and that group, they deserve the benefit of the doubt. Why? They've only won the last 2 Super Bowls. They've continued to be in the hunt for it. So we'll see how it plays out. But if Pittsburgh, their philosophy is going to be, don't hurt yourself, no self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
Play good defense and see what happens. If they can do that, they're going to be in games. Are they a better team than the Bills, or do we think that they're better than the Ravens or the Chiefs? Probably not. Even the Chargers, who the Ravens are going to play.
Yeah.
But do they know how to win with who they have? Does Mike Tomlin do a great job of keeping those group of men together and fighting and finding a way? They do it just as well as anybody. But talent-wise, of those teams, they're probably tiered down. But I guess this leads into the question. What do you got? Last thing, Brad?
Last thing for me was best coach in the league, Mike Tomlin. Can we all agree on that?
I still got to go Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I'm still going
to going.
Yeah. And Spags. Andy and Spags. That combo
Tomlin
right there
is top 2, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think it's flipped between he and Reid, depending on what you want to prioritize right now.
I would also, I'm just going to say this.
He's doing a lot with less, is all I'm saying.
Mike
Tomlin's doing a lot with less.
I'm going to tell you who I also have in that top coach conversation. They're playing them on Monday.
I can't put Jim.
It's too early.
Yeah.
Too early for that.
I'm telling you, I'm already putting him in that conversation.
I've seen him crash and burn too many times at every stint for me to. I feel like this is the classic. Jim Harbaugh's first few years are going to be insane, and then we got to see the sustainability. He's always been in his spurts, college, NFL. He's always very good the first 3 years. So I got to see.
Well, it took actually in college, it was kind of the opposite. They couldn't break through at Michigan until last year.
And then
they
got really good insight, and then they made their breakthrough.
Hey, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
A lot of study.
I'll just say this with the Chargers, and we'll talk about that much more in the future. I think their future is as bright as anybody with the staff that they've brought in, and Jim running that ship out there. Should be great to see. But it leads to this question now in the AFC. Guys, we got the Ravens have 6 games left. There are 7 weeks total left in the NFL season.
Yeah.
2 things, 2-parter here. Let's start with this, though. Can the Baltimore Ravens, when you're looking at the schedule moving forward, your confidence level that they can still win the AFC North? Because that was a tough loss at Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
They now sit a game and a half back. They are now 2-2 in the division with both losses on the road to Cleveland and Pittsburgh. So the beauty is they have their final 2 at home against Pittsburgh and Cleveland. But Zach, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
What is your confidence level that Baltimore can still win the AFC North?
I'll say a 4 out of 10. I'll give them 40% chance because the Steelers down the line, their schedule gets very tough. I think the schedules, if you're going to look at it, favor Baltimore. And the big thing is they play again, in Baltimore. If the Ravens are able to go and win that game, I think it then becomes a toss-up. It's okay who obviously finishes out and plays well the rest of the way. I think at the end of the day, that loss is probably going to be the difference between the Ravens and Steelers. So I think Steelers more times than not win this. But I can't sit here and say, okay, the Ravens are out of it. Yeah, they're just wild card team. Just focus on the wild card. You beat Pittsburgh, and then you just need to beat them by 1 game the rest of the way. So I'm going to give them 40%. I think it's close, but I'm still leaning. I'm going to give Pittsburgh obviously the bigger opportunity, despite the tough schedule down the stretch.
Brad, over or under 40% that you're going for Baltimore to win this division?
God damn.
Zach said a good barometer there, so that's why I wanted to kind of go.
I don't know how to, if I want to be contrarian, over, right? It's really.
How about this?
I'm going to go, I can make the argument for over, and I'll go with this.
Okay.
I can make the argument for over because of the strength of the Steelers schedule moving forward.
Yeah.
they are going to get their asses kicked physically, not saying that they're going to lose all these games, but just physically worn down by the rest of the AFC North, whether they win or lose them. And I think that that's going to play a factor as to whether or not the Ravens can go into this. Now, Ravens don't have an easy schedule either.
Yeah.
But when 6 of the last 8 games or 6 of the last 7 games are in the division, it's going to be really hard to just win all of them.
Yeah, I mean, let me just read off the Steelers' schedule so far. So tonight they play in Cleveland. Well, I've talked about this before the show. I think Cleveland gives them a fight tonight and potentially could win that one. But you go at Cleveland, then next week they're in Cincinnati. You're then back home against Cleveland. So those are 3 very physical games. Then you go at Philadelphia, at Baltimore, home against the Chiefs, home against the Bengals. There is not a single game in there that, even against the Browns, that if I'm the Steelers, I'm like, okay, this is kind of a breather, because the Browns, like you said, that's just a physical game every single time.
Correct.
So you're going to get beat up, whether it's on the scoreboard or physically in the game.
Yep. There's a lot of things that could say Pittsburgh could lose. And I'm going to say specifically those games on the road. And we're talking about at Philly, at Baltimore. Kansas City there on Christmas Day will be interesting.
It's a lot of dark magic.
There is. We got to figure
both
out.
A lot of dark magic.
Who's got the more powerful wizard? Hey, speaking of the conversation of Tomlin versus
Reed.
Yeah.
There it is. Whammy.
Has a game ever felt like more of it's going to end in a tie? If that game ends in a tie, I'm officially like that we're dealing with some.
It's definitely going to be a game like
extraterrestrial.
I can see that game being very much like the Broncos game for Kansas City, and that like it's going to come down to a blocked field goal or some dumb shit like that.
And it's also going to be something along the lines of, it's really going to fit the theme of, one of the Christmas stories, or like how it's something I'm envisioning something with the Grinch. I'm a huge How the Grinch Stole Christmas guy.
Yeah.
I see something happening where maybe controversial. Then you see that smirk.
Maybe.
Then you see that Grinch-like smirk from somebody on the field.
This game, there's no chance this game ends anywhere
But the difference,
this game is going to end. I would be floored if this game ends and the internet is not on some controversy.
Yeah.
I don't see it ending in the feel-good story of the Grinch gave back. I have it being the Grinch just stole everything, and his heart is still 6 times whatever 6 times smaller than the actual size. That's how I'm going to take away from that game. Someone's going to be pissed.
Is animated versus
it's
Jim
animated.
Carrey?
It's okay. Animated for me because it's always the staple. Jim Carrey as his own brand and element as the Grinch.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to save that for Christmas.
Yeah.
Love that. Love him because he's fantastic. But I am a staple animated. Just because of that. Because of that reason.
I'm partial to that too. Just don't get me wrong. I'm still watching the Jim Carrey.
Oh,
version.
1,000%.
But if I had to pick just one to watch, especially with like the music, it's nostalgic.
I think this is a good point. Jim Carrey for most quotable.
Agreed. I'll go with that.
Because you really can't quote as much in the animated. You just can maybe quote the actual.
You can.
You can quote the
whole book.
Okay.
The whole book you can quote.
It's the book, but I mean,
he even took the roast beast.
It's just fantastic all around. But to finish this point, I think the Ravens, this is my take, and I saw British Raven, aka Nick, say he thinks the Ravens are going to win their last 6. I truly do believe if Baltimore beats LA this Monday, I think that they run the table. I think that they would run the table, beat Philly at home.
Yeah.
And I do think that they take care of business. If they lose to the Giants, that's a whole different problem.
And Lamar Jackson is an MV3.
I think they take care of Pittsburgh. I think that they go to Houston and win on Christmas Day. They take care of Cleveland. I really think this game in LA is going to tell us a lot. Philly, I'm not fully sold on yet.
But it is at home.
So we will see what happens. It should be interesting, guys. And maybe I know I wanted to get into this, and maybe we can talk about it for the end. One of these teams is going to get in for that final wild card spot. Baltimore's going to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're putting on our crystal ball right now, one of these teams, guys, the Broncos, who are 6-5, right?
Yeah.
The Dolphins, who are still, you're telling me there's a chance. Their defense has showed up here the last couple of weeks. Big win at LA. They beat the Raiders, who they needed to beat. Then you have the Cincinnati Bengals and the Indianapolis Colts. Now the Bengals sit at 4-7. Colts are at 5-6. Guys, Brad, I'll start with you. If you had to say right now which team's getting that final spot in the AFC, it is
The final spot. Well, so for me, I think the way that the playoff standings are right now, which is Kansas City, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Houston, Chargers are the wild card, Baltimore's wild card, and Denver's wild card. It's going to depend on a lot of things, but I think that of these 7 teams, all 7 teams in that list are going to the playoffs. I think if the playoffs were to end today, that's how it starts. I think the Bengals season is over. They still have too many division games to play that they would have to run the table, and I just don't see that happening. Indy's just not good enough, and Miami's not good enough. So I think where the teams are right now in the standings is where it will end.
Zach.
I can't give up on Cincinnati. With
12% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'm going to take it. I'm taking the 12, and here's why. The Bengals, yes, they've got to run the table. You got Pittsburgh next week. They're on the bye this week. Pittsburgh next week at home. Then they're going to Dallas, where Merry Christmas. You go to Dallas, that's an automatic 50-point win. So congrats to them on that. Then they go to Tennessee. They have the Browns at home, the Broncos, who I think they're competing, who I think it comes down to, at home, and then they're at Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh game's really, the at Pittsburgh game's the one that I think is really going to be weird. I don't think the Colts really have a chance. I think they're just kind of so much in limbo. It really, every other week we see a different Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
So with the Broncos playing the Raiders, they should take that. Then they've got the Browns, the Colts and Broncos play each other, but the Broncos' final 3 games being at Chargers, at Bengals, against the Chiefs. That's just, unless the Chiefs are resting guys, which very well could because of that. I think if I'm taking it, Joe Burrow's playing like an MVP. Jamar Chase is playing like an offensive player of the year. Trey Hendrickson is playing like the defensive player of the year. If there was a team that I was going to say could overcome the 12% and be that team, I like the Bengals. Is it the most realistic? Is it the most? I trust them the most, despite how just awful each game has ended for them. It just feels like heartbreak after heartbreak. Yeah. They're right there.
They are going to have to win out and get help to make the playoffs. And that's why I'm like, no chance they win out for one, and no chance that they win out and get help.
I think the schedule benefits them in the fact that the Broncos and Colts have to play each other. The Broncos' final 3 games are absolute hell. The Bengals have an opportunity to beat the Broncos on that second to last week. I think that's really where it's going to come down to. So I think it's going to be a lot closer. You know, we keep on saying, it feels like every week people are like, the Bengals season is dead, and like it should be in any other year.
I think a lot of people want the Bengals season to be over.
I think it's just any other year it would be, but it's the fact that this 7 seed, like you realistically, like 9 wins is getting you in that 7 seed.
I'll tell you what, right now, I think Denver could have enough, but the team that could do the most damage to a playoff team to me is still Cincy. That is the one matchup. If you're Kansas City, do you really want to play Cincinnati again?
No.
If you're Baltimore, and I know Baltimore's like, hey, bring it on. I don't want to have to continue to rely on. I don't want to see Jamar Chase have another 600 yards.
No.
So I think the Ravens could beat them, but the Bengals, what we're finding out, they can go toe-to-toe with everyone,
and then lose.
But then they can lose, but they can bring it down to the wire, and it just takes one thing to go their way. But to your point, Brad, I don't know if they're going to be able to get through their schedule clean enough to get to that. But the one team I wouldn't want to see is Cincy. I think I'd rather get the Broncos. I'd rather face the Colts. I'd rather face the Dolphins.
And then just real fast, because I need to put this to bed. I understand it's like fun to think about and stuff. The Dolphins don't play well at all in the cold weather and the deep end. They had to start hot anyway to make this. I know we keep playing this like, oh, well, Tua's back. They can do this. I see no way the Dolphins are able to run this thing.
No.
They might not. But
to me, too, I think, God, the Colts are not out of it as far as winning the division at this point.
The only thing that sucks is that they lost the tiebreaker.
Right.
That's the only thing. But record-wise, yeah, they're not dead in the water there.
Oh, I did actually. They play the Colts play the Lions this week, so that's not a.
All right, so 5-7.
The Lions are going to drop 70 on this team for no reason.
Yeah.
This is an incredible.
Jared Goff's going to be the MVP of the league again right here after this week.
No.
You ready? You ready, Brad?
He's not.
Are you ready for
I'm
this?
telling you, he's not.
It's
Speaking
1
of,
p.m.
we do have to talk about this, even though this wasn't in our show notes, and some of our viewers brought this up. We got about 12 minutes, by the way, before Nick Moore comes onto the show, so I think it's a good time to chat about this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo, for no apparent reason, absolutely torched Lamar Jackson for one bad game this season. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he did go on First Take yesterday, as he always does on Wednesdays, and absolutely ripped Lamar Jackson and gave every reason why he thinks Josh Allen should be the MVP. So take a listen.
You know, the recency bias here is undeniable. A couple weeks ago, Lamar was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now we have one weekend. Where Josh Allen, he played phenomenal. I love Josh. Josh is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. But one weekend, it took for you to now say Lamar Jackson went from being the greatest quarterback of all time to all the way down the totem pole there. Doggy.
Stephen A., can I just ask one quick question? That quote, I just want to be clear, that didn't sound like something you would say. Maybe Stephen A. would use those,
I'm surprised,
those names
I'm
and
surprised
references.
Kimberly came up with Buck Buchanan. That's a nice job.
Kimberly did it. That was a Mad Dog special.
One other thing.
What?
May I?
Yeah,
Steve,
go.
may I? You can take those 2 MVPs
Oh, here
Absolutely
we go.
not.
Don't say
and
it.
you can put them where the sun don't shine.
That's
2
messed
weeks
up.
ago, you were saying he was better than Patrick Mahomes. Now all of a sudden,
Those MVPs.
That's disrespectful.
That's true. That's true.
Talk about prisoner of the moment.
Talking seriously, but you know, by the way,
Shout out
that's
Kimberly.
smirk right there.
From Stephen A.
Well, the smirk right there, but also from Mad Dog Russo. To me, I'm like, you don't believe what you're saying.
No way.
You do not believe what you're saying. And yeah, shout out Kimberly Martin. Always when you need, she puts on
she
the
pulls
Lamar
through.
Jackson Superman cape to defend him.
I love it. Weren't you the one who 2 weeks ago said he was better than Patrick Mahomes? Because he was the one who said that.
He said it was the greatest of all time. He said it was
my goodness.
greatest quarterback of all time, and then one weekend he has a bad day.
That smirk said it all. And
gonna say.
maybe he was popping a couple gummies too, makes you feel better as well and relax. But he knows what he's doing. But let's stop this. Josh Allen, unbelievable player.
Yeah.
If the Ravens didn't have Lamar Jackson, hell yeah, I'd want Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I'd probably say, you know, I still love Patrick Mahomes too, but I'm so thankful that we don't have to have that discussion because Lamar Jackson is going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the position.
Yeah.
And I think that's not a fact. Or sorry, that is a fact. It's not a bias. That is a fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
It baffles me that
Every pundit this week since the Steelers loss and because of what Josh Allen did against the Chiefs have like flipped 180 degrees, forgot everything that Lamar Jackson has done this season, and then is basing their opinions on one game. Yeah. All the stats that they've all brought up all week long, you could say the same for Lamar Jackson, and he's done them better than Josh Allen. That goes, that's turnovers, rushing yards, passing yards, rushing touchdowns, rushing or passing touchdowns, all of it, passer rating, completion percentage, literally everything Lamar Jackson has done better than Josh Allen this season. And need I remind you that they also beat the shit out of the Bills this season as well.
Well, you know, the bigger part for me that I'm noticing, Brad, is that some of the arguments that people are making, they're going, Josh is doing it in spite of the lack of talent that he has around him.
Yeah.
They don't, and I go, timeout.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson won.
Timeout.
Yeah.
That Lamar Jackson, you're telling me with Josh Allen, yes, this is probably for his cast. They don't have Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've had an injury-riddled team at times. They're missing Dalton Kincaid, who is a big part of the team. James Cook missed the game. Oh, and their team is winning games with a less talented offense. What the hell has Lamar Jackson been doing when he won his first MVP and Willie Snead was number one wide receiver? Also, by the way, love Willie Snead.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. Last year, Zay Flowers as a rookie was the number one. You lost your number one threat in Mark Andrews against the Cincinnati Bengals, and you won games. Lamar's winning percentage with or without a top wide receiver is still at the top of the game. The only thing you're going to knock Lamar Jackson on is getting to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen and the Bills haven't gotten to one.
No.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here and I'm going, damn, Josh is a phenomenal player right now. And I'm not just the reality. If the Bills go on with this record, Josh is going to win the MVP.
Without a doubt.
And I would be so damn happy for him. But to sit here and go, Lamar's just not that good anymore. Well, and the reason being that Josh Allen's doing it with less.
Yeah.
That's a narrative that Ravens fans have had to live with, is that Lamar can't play in big moments. And all he's done, regardless of his supporting cast, has gone out there and shown what he's capable of doing. And that is being not just one of the best mobile quarterbacks, being one of the best quarterbacks, period.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. And I agree. My final thing is, I think, it's this narrative of Lamar can't win the big games. It's, Lamar always falls short in these quote unquote big games. Jack Settleman put this out there a few days ago, and I couldn't agree more. How come it's always a big game when Lamar loses?
Yeah.
Because was Cincinnati primetime not a big game, and Lamar absolutely dices twice? He had two phenomenal games against Cincinnati. Was the Buffalo game not a good game? Not a big game? Primetime in Baltimore? Lamar's kryptonite is the Steelers and the Chiefs right now. I don't necessarily think it's, we have to see it more in the playoffs without a doubt. But I just think this narrative of, Lamar doesn't show up in big games, and he's shown it again this year. 0-2 against, now obviously the Cowboys have been a shit show since, but 0-2 must win against the Cowboys. Lamar goes and does his thing. I just think we're going to sit here next Tuesday or next week, and it's going to be right after the Ravens game. Lamar Jackson does Lamar Jackson primetime stuff. And because it's primetime, because it's everyone's watching, the narrative's going to be probably, oh my gosh, Lamar Jackson's the front runner for MVP. And then the next week, it's going to be Josh Allen's the front runner for MVP. It changes every single week. It doesn't matter.
That's exhausting. You guys want to know as well, people, why they say it's a big deal when Lamar loses games?
Because he doesn't do it often.
What do you think his record is right now? And I got to fact check that this is exactly right, but it's pretty close if it's not. What do you guys think his record as a starting quarterback is?
In his career?
Lamar, he's got like 70-some wins, right?
Just below it.
68.
And 14 losses or some crazy shit like that?
No, it's higher than that now. 69 and 28.
28. Okay.
Record as a quarterback. So, I mean, we can do the math.
Is that good?
I'll pull out the calculator.
I don't know if that's good or not.
But I think that we want to sit here and try to bring down greatness. Like Patrick Mahomes and them, they beat every team. They have winning records against almost everybody. Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Andy Reid is one of the best coaches of all time. But go look around the rest of the league. Who is having this type of success on a consistent basis? The next closest to Mahomes and Andy Reid, and people aren't going to want to hear that, is John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson over this time period where their record has reflected.
Yeah.
When Lamar plays, the Ravens usually win. And when he doesn't, they usually are struggling to stay afloat. But Lamar is going to lose games. We can go back to it. For a full season that Lamar has played, what's the worst record that Baltimore has? Could you look that up, Zach?
I think it was COVID year, right?
It might have been.
Because he was sick and injured. Like that whole year was just bad. Games were being played on Wednesdays and shit.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure it was a COVID year.
Yeah. Let me pull out the calendar right now. So 97 games from Steve for Lamar. So
69 wins.
Nice. 71% of the time he wins.
Yeah.
71% of the time. Do we have that? Do you have those stats, Zach, by any chance?
No, I'm looking them up. I've been trying to.
But you guys get my point.
Yeah.
The gist of this is, let's just accept greatness. Josh Allen.
Yeah, why can't we just enjoy the moment?
Why can't we accept that we have four of the best quarterbacks in the league that this league will ever see when it comes to Mahomes, Lamar, Burrow, and Allen? Like, it's always, and I've seen tweets about this. We are so focused as media and like just kind of online of like comparing and like always putting against each other. This is an incredible time to be an NFL fan. Like, there is some insane talent going on right now. This is
unless you're in New York.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're in New York here, and maybe that's I think we have Nick joining us here soon, so we'll just quick point on that. If you're a Jets fan, there's no light at the end of the tunnel for a while. I don't know what the plan is, but it looks like Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back, potentially at least not coming back. But we know Joe Douglas isn't. His contract was up. The general manager, again, that's from the Ravens tree of executives.
Yeah.
And he did a fantastic job in the sense of they brought in a lot of talent. Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall. Did he help bring in Quentin Williams too? Is that the one before?
Yes, I believe so.
There's a list of it that Joe Douglas brought in a lot of guys. Now, the one that's going to be on that record is that they brought in Aaron Rodgers, which you then can argue that is a organizational decision. And we saw reports that he wanted Jerry Jeudy, and that got nixed from ownership, if that report's true. But Joe Douglas, great football mind. The Jets now have fired their head coach, their GM. It looks like they're going to reset at quarterback. Talk about a team that's not going anywhere, guys. We didn't even mention the Jets is there a chance? If the Jets have a small chance, there is no chance.
Look, Woody Johnson is the worst owner. I mean, it used to be Dennis Snyder.
Yeah.
Woody Johnson.
I don't think it's close.
Is the worst in the league.
It's not close.
Jerry Jones is getting there.
Jerry Jones is just for completely other reasons, though.
But I said he's getting there.
Yeah. Also, did you guys even mention, I guess it was Monday, you didn't have a chance to. How about the roof falling off? That piece of metal.
It's just a testament to the Cowboys season. Just of course that's going to happen.
My favorite part about the story was they didn't even get the piece of metal down. It was just up there and it was like a hazard. So instead of just going up and getting it down, they went up there and they drilled it and secured it to the roof so that they could deal with it later. They were like, as long as it doesn't fall tonight, we're good.
Brooks.
And I was like, just go. You're already up there. Just push it over.
I love what Brooks put up here too. He's passing Tepper.
That's crazy to think.
I was just like Tepper's the Homer Simpson meme where you just disappear into the hedges.
Yeah.
That's Tepper right now. as all the heat comes off of him and it's back onto Woody Johnson. I mean, look, I think what do we say? Woody Johnson's the worst. It's Tepper and then maybe Jerry Jones right now.
Yeah.
This season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's tough. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show do this live every Monday and Thursday. We do it live on Ravens days, but with the Ravens and Chargers playing on Monday, we will just push back our show a hair just to be able to do a longer pregame / regular show. Nick just told us he had practice running late, so 4:30 is Nick's time to join us here, which gives us a good time, at least moment-wise. And I wanted to look at the percentages here as we do this to look at talking about odds and playing your chances. It's a good time to mention our sponsor, Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Beautiful. Woo. And look, our friends up there at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown, they are now proudly sponsored with ESPN Bet. It's going to the sports book there. And right now they got a special going on for Penn Play that if you just join ESPN Bet and the Penn Play app, you deposit $10, you get another $50 added on. And if you use the code PENNBUILDER, you'll get another $50, but you got to be able to register before December 31st for that offer to kick in for ESPN Bet. So guys, we appreciate our sponsor, Hollywood Casino, up in West Virginia. Beautiful. Guys, odds of teams making the playoffs, and I wanted to bring that up with the New York Jets because they aren't eliminated yet.
Woo!
But it's not good. It's not good to make the playoffs. So, and I'm trying to, my computer's being a little bit slow here. Also, the New York Times even had an article how the New York Jets can still make the playoffs through week 11.
Jesus Christ.
That's tough.
Yeah. Let it go. Did we ever answer the question as to why the Europeans, Nick, maybe you can answer this, why they love John Denver so much? We just acknowledged that they do, but why does Country Roads like their anthem over there?
They love it
during sporting events. I mean, I love it too. Just where did they even come from? Why was that the song they picked? Not that I'm mad at it.
Yeah, it is, and because they also love West Virginia because of it. It's weird.
It's of all the states to love in the United States.
Yeah, like I know, like because obviously I went to college in West Virginia. I had friends who would go like out of the country, like on trips, and they'll be like, yeah, like people ask like where I'm from in like America. I'll be like West Virginia, and they'll be like, oh my God.
Nick apparently answered it in the Discord.
Oh,
got to check on that. But also to finish the odds part here, the Jets to miss the playoffs are minus 10,000. So that's $1 to win
1,000.
No, the other way. No, it's like
you would win
you wouldn't even win a penny.
Yeah, you wouldn't even win a penny.
You'd have to bet $10,000 to win
I always do that.
$1.
All right.
To make the playoffs. Little investment. Hey,
passive income.
Hey, investors, possibly you.
Yeah.
The Jets to make the playoffs plus 3,000.
All right.
Going into the season, they were minus 145.
Yeah,
to make the playoffs.
That's tough.
They're just a quarterback away, remember?
They're just a quarterback away. So we'll find out there. But that's just to give you guys context. Hey, look, it's not just the New York Jets that are having issues up there in East Rutherford or New York, whatever you want to consider it. Guys, what the hell is happening with the New York Giants? We know that this season for them is over. They're not going anywhere. And they made it clear. They're even benching Daniel Jones, and they're starting Tommy DeVito, surpassing then Drew Lock for an opportunity. But DeVito's back, Brad.
Yeah.
He's back.
He's
back, baby. He's
There
back.
we
Tommy
go.
Cutlets.
Tommy Cutlets is back.
Yeah, we know who's gone.
But the thing is, they didn't even make Daniel Jones the third string quarterback. They signed another quarterback, Tim Boyle.
Tim Boyle.
I was going to say Nick Boyle, his former Ravens tight end. Tim Boyle.
Might
as well at this point.
Legend.
Well, because they're not even having Daniel Jones play quarterback anymore. The report out of practice today was Daniel Jones was playing scout team safety for the Giants. And look, I understand it's about money, right? If he gets injured playing, there's an insurance guarantee on his contract. They don't want to risk it. They're saying, hey, we're done with the investment. Appreciate your efforts, but it's done. We're not paying any more than we have to.
Yeah.
Still, Daniel Jones has handled this very gracefully. And actually, I think we have the video. He did speak at the podium just a little bit ago about that whole situation up there with the Giants. So let's play it for
something down just to make sure I say it the right way. Let's see. The opportunity to play for the New York Giants was truly a dream come true, and I'm extremely grateful to the Mara and Tisch families for the chance to play here. The Giants are truly a first-class organization, and I have nothing but genuine respect and appreciation for the people who have built it and who helped carry on that tradition. I've met so many special people and created relationships that will truly last a lifetime. Thank you to all my teammates, coaches, and staff that have done so much for me these past 6 years. There have been some great times, but of course, we all wish there had been more of those. I take full responsibility for my part in not bringing more wins. No one wanted to win more games worse than me, and I gave everything I had on the field and in my preparation. Of course, this season has been disappointing for all, and of course, I wish I could have done more. I'm 100% accountable for my part. I did not play well enough consistently enough to help the team get the results. The reality of the NFL is it's hard to win games and requires consistent performance from everyone involved. We didn't do that well enough, so the idea to change something happens, and I understand. I love the game. I love being part of a team. I'm excited for the next opportunity and know that there's a lot of good football in front of me, and I'm excited about that. To all the fans, I have deep respect and appreciation for your passion and love for the Giants. The fans are a huge part of what makes playing for the Giants so special.
Look, he said all the right things.
Yeah.
You know, and I do give him credit for writing that down. It is a hard thing to go out there for people that are wondering, well, why doesn't he just recite that naturally? It's hard. You're going to forget certain things.
Yeah.
Even for us, when we do this show, we come up with certain shticks and what we're going to do here.
And we forget them.
And we forget them.
I like how he started. He said, I wrote some stuff down so I'd make sure I word this all correctly. Listen, as you said, this makes, in my mind, this puts Daniel Jones, just the respect and likability for Daniel Jones is through the roof right now because he didn't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He very easily could have gone out there and said what every other person on earth is seeing from the Giants. And, hey, this is a shit show. I don't know what the hell we've really been doing for the past 2 years. It feels like we've really just been in this limbo of, hey, we spent 2 years wondering if we were going to keep Saquon, and then we decided not to, and now we're just rolling with this, seeing what happens. Nothing seems to be going well. He could have called out a lot of people, but he just said all the right things. He said, I've enjoyed playing here, nothing but respect and love for everyone. And it's a leadership type of response. Do I think he's going to get an opportunity to be a starting quarterback right away? No. I think he's going to have to be a backup somewhere. But I think right now Daniel Jones is showing that he's the kind of guy that you're not going to bring in there and you're going to worry about there being drama. He's a guy that can go out there no matter what happens, how much he's publicly humiliated, how many times did it feel like he was just the one thrown under the bus. He still went out there, said the right things, did everything right. And I think that's big, especially for him going forward.
Yeah, I think fair to say, though, Brad.
Yeah.
Look, love what he's done as far as how he's handled himself. To your point, Zach, he's not going to be a guy you're going to worry about going off and maybe arriving in a hot air balloon and being upset like Antonio Brown, right? It just didn't work out. And you could say it could be coaching. They had a terrible offensive line.
Yeah.
But that 1 year, there's a glimmer of hope where you went, man, he could be the guy. But since then, the numbers don't lie since he signed that big contract. Overall, this year, 8 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Last year, even though it was cut short, it was 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's not making good decisions with the football on top of it. And the Giants have to reset, which also then goes to show they did they let their best piece walk in Saquon Barkley, which also is going to hurt. I think Tyrone Tracy's done a great job becoming what could be a good piece for them for the future. But make no mistake here, if Daniel Jones had played better, to his point that he made, we're not having this conversation.
Right.
So
and I think there's some truth to what Zach is saying. I don't know if Daniel Jones actually starts another game ever again as the starting quarterback. He's not going to start another game as like the guy, the starting quarterback. I mean, if somebody gets injured, fine. He's going to be a backup somewhere. I was actually just running through my mind, like, where could Danny Dimes go next year? What team would actually take him on as like a starting quarterback? I don't know if I could think of one.
I mean, like, if
I just don't know if I like what are you going
to
throw him back to? I mean, maybe, but like they're going to draft Shador.
Are they?
They are.
Are the Raiders going to be the number 1 overall pick?
Does he end up with a team like Cleveland?
No.
No. I'm trying to think of where
they're not. He's not even going to accept that.
Maybe Daniel Jones will be a safety. Maybe it's his true calling, just like Baker Mayfield was a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
For the Panthers. So maybe you're telling me there's a chance.
The only way that I can see this playing out is if it's like a Geno Smith type of situation in which you have a quality quarterback that really wasn't set up for success in an organization like Geno Smith. And all of a sudden he gets put in a good situation and is allowed to kind of shine. That's the only way that I could see Daniel Jones coming back and actually doing something with an organization.
Well, the 2 things can happen here with that situation. You either go to a place that's going to give you a chance, like Geno out there in Seattle, where you sit behind Russell and you have a good infrastructure, or you bear it and go to the Panthers and you go through all that voodoo. Because what happens is the team does bad. You get special powers and you leave.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're back being a starting quarterback. The Vikings and Sam Darnold have 2 losses. They're just a game out of first place with the Lions.
Baker
Mayfield is a franchise quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they're getting Mike Evans back this week. So, you mentioned the Shador Sanders for a second. Could he be number 1 overall? Is Dion leaving Colorado? It's a perfect time for us to just take a step back.
I'm
here.
like full of those.
Of
segues today.
You're full of segues?
Yeah. I kicked that off.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
My mind went a completely different direction.
I kicked off the Dan Orlovsky Steelers one too.
You're a good kid.
Mad Doggers. It's like I know what I'm doing.
It's like you know what you know what you're doing.
I've done this before. I don't know what I'm doing, but
for everyone else out there, the question that we're going to lead up with after this is Dion leaving? Is Shedeur going to a place where they can choose? Well, there might be an answer or a clue of why Dion Sanders is probably going to stay at Colorado, at least for another year. But before we do that, let's take a trip around college then on our Adams Jeep of Maryland. And this is very nice. It's a very nice cruise. The top might not be able to be down nowadays, Brad. It's like 45 degrees outside.
There's no chance I'm putting the top down. No chance.
You know?
It's chilly out there.
It's too cold for that.
It is getting a little bit
if
nipply out there.
If you're cruising at no more than 15 miles an hour, maybe. Any faster than that, no.
And right now, I want to get a chance to pull up just with Adam's Jeep. I thought I had the video.
Oops.
Nope, I haven't. Nope.
Working on some cool stuff for Adam's Jeep for the show too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm trying to figure out, is this what I was looking for? Nope. Video's too short.
Oh boy.
It's too short. Never been told that. What? What is so funny?
Jesus. All right.
There we go. Beautiful. Adams Jeep of Maryland up there. But this is the cool part here. Stop traffic. They got Adams Extreme Motorsports, which really means you might know them if you want to go up and buy a Jeep, which if you buy a used car up at Adams Jeep of Maryland, they'll give you $1,000 for purchasing the vehicle. If you just say the Ryan Ripken Show sent you, we love them and Rocco sucks. Tell Chuck and Matt we say hello. But they customize, guys. This is the Adams Extreme Motorsports. Any customization, Chevy, Toyota, Honda, whatever you are driving.
Yeah.
They'll do it. And they got a special offer going on right now. Buy 3 tires, get 1 free. Tell them that we said hello and that the Ryan Ripken Show sent you. They might just throw something else in there. Chuck and Matt, Steve up there, they are the best in the business, and they are our go-to sponsors for all things car. Check out Adams Jeep of Maryland up in Aberdeen, 5 minutes from the Ironbird Stadium. All right, fellas. Zach, there is one thing we have to talk about college.
Yeah.
Before Dion Sanders and Shedeur. And it's got to do with the 2 Maryland teams.
Oh,
yeah.
And unfortunately, for football,
it's over.
It's over. The dream's done.
It's dead and gone.
We hope the best for Maryland football, but the dream's gone. Going to the college football playoff is gone. Yeah. But the basketball teams look pretty damn good. We know what the women were going to do. They've just been a juggernaut for years and years and years. The men's team, though, especially now looking at what Marquette just did.
Yeah.
You might feel pretty good about that loss, actually. Now you don't feel good, but
yeah, you don't feel good, obviously, because Maryland felt like they had the opportunity to beat Marquette, number 15, at home last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Marquette then goes and beats Purdue, who is the number 16 in the nation, very handedly. So it makes Maryland look a lot better. I believe Maryland's actually ranked 30 currently. Maryland, coming off Tuesday, 108-37 win versus Canisius. Not necessarily a powerhouse, but we're back at it this Sunday against Villanova. Maryland basketball, man, if they can figure out that offense, that defense is suffocating. They got the stars and Derek Queen. Juju Reese is absolutely killing it again as the big man down low. They've got the potential. They have all the potential in the world to make a deep run this March to a Sweet 16 and Elite 8 type level. Got to get it done offensively. But if you're a Maryland fan, the pieces are there. The pieces are there. It's whether or not they can put it together offensively. You know the defense is going to be there. You know the star powers. You can just rely on Derek Queen at moments, which I feel like, I know this comparison gets overused, but it feels kind of Diamond Stone-esque where big moment, you need someone to just get a bucket. Offense isn't doing well. You just give it to Derek Queen, just like you would Diamond Stone. So it's an exciting time to be a Terps basketball fan.
Well, and we know this is just the reality. And their next game, they got to play the Wildcats of Villanova, which Villanova's been struggling. I feel bad. Kyle Neptune, had a chance to meet him at the college basketball luncheon. Really, really good guy. Nova's struggling, but Maryland's in a really good position. But we all know this, Brad. Just like with the Ravens, what you do once you get to the postseason. And for Maryland basketball, can you get back to the Sweet 16? That's going to be on everyone's thoughts and minds until March Madness happens.
Long season.
But Maryland sits at 4-1, and the women's team, man, they just know how to play. Brenda Fries, it's a reason why she's going to go down as one of the very best in the game of college basketball 2 decades later, and she's still crushing it there in Maryland. They're feeling really good about their programs. Unfortunately, not for football, but you know who is feeling good about their program? It's got to be the Colorado Buffs. Yeah. The Buffs right now, guys, and Nick is going to hear my wrath. Don't sleep on the Buffs or Boise State Broncos. They both got a shot to get to the college football playoff. But, guys, the conversation goes back to, well, is Dion going to leave when Shedeur goes? And I think to your guys' point, Shedeur looks like he's going to be the top quarterback picked.
Yes.
Matt Miller, the ESPN, he agrees. He says that's the best quarterback in the draft.
He looks really good.
Looks very good, and Colorado's gotten better and better, and everyone's going, wait a minute, Dion's going to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this one little piece of information might change your mind. Pat McAfee had the number 2 overall prospect, five-star quarterback recruit. He had a big announcement on where he was going. So let's play that clip for you guys, and we'll react on the other side.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Julian Juju Lewis will be playing football for whom next year, brother?
I will be continuing my athletic and academic career at
Here we go, full
the University of Colorado.
Okay. Congratulations. We're incredibly proud of you. We're pumped for you that you were able to make this decision.
So the quarterback, Julian Juju Lewis, number 2 overall prospect, 5-star quarterback, is going to Colorado. That's an incredible get. But that also tells me, fellas, Dion ain't going to the NFL next year. He's not leaving or jumping ship. I guess technically you can go to a transfer portal and leave.
Yeah.
But right now, in your Dion and what you've built, I would love to stay at Colorado if I were him and let Shedeur spread his wings and go out there and see what he's got at the NFL level. I think this is a match made in heaven for the moment. And I think the Buffs, for him to keep building up that credibility, stay in that spot for a couple more years and then make the jump. You guys against that, or does that seem like the right move?
No, at this point, I think, especially after this commitment, it feels like Dion's destined to stay. I thought once Shedeur and Travis Hunter left that he would either jump to the NFL or maybe, rumblings of like a Florida State job, something like that, which I guess could happen. He goes and then Juju jumps, transfers type thing, kind of like what they did with Shedeur and Travis. But I think for the moment, this is another, kind of sign that, hey, Dion's staying in college at least because he's getting these big recruits. I was worried that Dion was going to kind of not stop recruiting, but just assume like, okay, Shedeur and Travis are my 2 guys. They're the ones that are going to make this team great. And then after that, we're going to just kind of ride off into the NFL into another, time. I think this is at least bought him 2 more years in college.
The only reason that I would say I would go against that, is because coaches don't stop recruiting regardless. Did Nick Saban stop recruiting even though he was going to retire? You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's situational. If the opportunity is right for prime time to go to the NFL as a head coach, I think he takes it. If the Raiders get the number 1 overall pick in Shedeur Sanders, and they are moving away from Tony over there in Las Vegas, and Shedeur Sanders is offered a head coaching job to coach his son as a quarterback, I don't know how he doesn't take that. I would be shocked if he didn't take that.
But would you give the keys to Dion? And again, I love what he's doing. I expect him. I'm bought in on what Dion's building.
Yeah.
But are you willing to do that as you're continuing to build up your coaching pedigree to jump to the biggest stage? Like we talked about with Jim Harbaugh, he built up a few levels and then went to the NFL. Like Dion is now having his first successful season at the Power 5 level.
You're talking about Harbaugh tour 1 or tour 2?
Well, no, Jim Harbaugh, he was saying he went San Diego State to Stanford and then went to the NFL, but Stanford became a powerhouse. So for Colorado, this will be year 1 of them elevating themselves to be a team. I think that's the part. But you know who'd be crazy to do it?
That's what I was
The
just about
Raiders
to
would
say.
be crazy to do it.
Well,
they would.
and if there was going to be an individual to do it, it would be Dion Sanders.
And it would be very interesting. But the quarterback discussion, I hope if it stays where it is, it looks like Colorado's going to get a pretty damn good quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, rankings and projections are just one thing, Brad. You like this segue? There are just one things, because last year there was a consensus number one pick in the NFL draft, and this kind of leads in before we have Nick join us. Caleb Williams was supposed to be the number one quarterback taken. Now, it is not all his fault there in Chicago. The coaching, the scheme, brutal. But if we take a step back here, guys, and we re-look at this setup here, should Caleb Williams have been the number one pick last year? And we're looking at it right now. Where would you rank him with the 4? Let's go with this. I think Jaden Daniels, we're going to sit at number 1.
Yep. Yeah. Easy.
Bo Nix, 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm putting Drake May 3. And I would put Caleb as the 4th quarterback to be taken if we were to redo it.
I think we all know what I would have done.
Not draft. You would have taken Jaden Daniels?
Yeah. Well, I said Jaden Daniels since last year. Ever since this isn't me saying that Caleb Williams is a scrub. I'm not saying that at all.
I don't want no scrubs.
I've said it from the beginning that the hype train that everybody was on with Caleb Williams was just way too much. You when you're playing for a school that's not the SEC, and Nick Moore will appreciate this, you're not exposing yourself to NFL type offenses. I just think that the level of talent there wasn't quite what everybody thought it was, and I saw that from the beginning.
Well, Bo Nix was out there. He had to leave Auburn because the SEC was too weak and had to go out to Oregon to be a peacock and fly. You know what I mean?
But he still had that experience, is what I'm saying.
For sure. I just had to throw that in.
I know.
Just for fun.
And so, like, for me personally, I was never on the Caleb Williams wagon for that reason.
Yeah. I think he's a talented player. But
I do too.
But Zach, Jaden Daniels, with his experience and what he did in the SEC, I think people were a little bit surprised with how well Bo Nix has played.
Yeah.
But Sean Payton, that was a good marriage, good coaching, good system. You're seeing the growth
hell of a coach
for Bo Nix. Hell, you're even seeing Drake May take strides, and they don't really have anybody there in New England. You're not seeing that with Caleb. Maybe we take it to this sense here. If we think that Caleb's 3 or 4, rookie of the year, does Bo Nix have a legit shot?
He has a legit shot
to overthrow Jaden.
He has to. I mean, so comparing them right now, both Bo and Jaden have 11 games. Same number. Both have 4 rushing touchdowns. Bo Nix has more passing touchdowns. Very close in yards. Completion percentage favors Jaden Daniels. The record is 6-5 versus 7-4. Jaden Daniels is in the driver's seat for sure. If it would not only take Bo Nix to continue to play like this, but I think Jaden Daniels would have to take a slight step back for Bo to catch him, just because everyone's kind of the fanfare behind Jaden Daniels right now because, he came out and just lit the world on fire to start. I think he still has that momentum going for him, but Bo Nix, especially,
he has more passing touchdowns than Jaden.
Yep.
Yeah, he has 14. Jaden only has 10. Daniels only has 14 total touchdowns this year. Because remember, they had that streak of they didn't
in the beginning.
Yeah, they had this streak of they didn't punt, but they only were kicking field goals.
Yeah,
and then they handed off to Brian Robinson Jr. a lot on the goal line. So
that's true.
But I think Bo Nix has a shot for sure. But I think it's very firmly Jaden Daniels has the driver's seat.
It's his to lose right now if the Commanders stay with what they're doing. And Brad, go ahead.
I was going to say too. I think this goes back to our conversation about the development of quarterbacks. Bo Nix playing as well as he is shouldn't surprise anybody because of the experience that he's had. And I think it just goes back to us talking about that, about how these young quarterbacks that are 20, 22 years old getting thrown to the wolves sets them up for failure. And so not really a surprise to see Bo Nix playing as well as he is.
Well, and I think the common denominator with young quarterbacks and having early success is having a coaching structure there that is very solid.
That too. That obviously plays a factor.
Right. Well, so this goes into this was a quote that Chase Daniel put out on Twitter that Bo Nix made earlier, talking about his relationship with Sean Payton and his development. He said, to be honest, I think at the beginning, you kind of make the NFL bigger than what it actually is. These players are really good, but at the same time, you have really good players on your level. I think simplifying the game and trying to play as fast as possible and finding a completion, which is what we've been able to do here recently. Then he goes on to say, Coach and I have found a good rhythm of what we both like and what we can kind of put out there on the field and what we can execute. Then the guys have kind of adapted to it. We find our roles within the system, and then we're able to execute at a high level, and it's able to allow us to slow down the game and process things in a manner that we can handle. So you're hearing that. That's a development thing right there. Get things going. And that's the part with Chicago right now. That was not, hey, let's execute, get Caleb in a rhythm. There was 2 games where he had it, and it was against the 2 at the time worst teams in the NFL, the Jaguars and the Panthers.
Yeah. I mean,
it's brutal.
Let's call it what it is. I legitimately believe that Commanders Hail Mary ruined the Chicago season. I think it completely derailed them as a franchise. And it's not just Caleb Williams' fault. But, we talk about Bo Nix, and he says simplifying. I think a very good way that they were simplifying is they realized 4 weeks ago, they were like, why the hell are we not getting Cortland Sutton the damn football? Suddenly he was going from 2-3 catches a game to then he's going 8 for 100 and a touchdown. He's going 7 for 122 against the Ravens, 6 for 70 and a touchdown versus the Chiefs, 7 for 78 versus the Falcons. It feels like this confidence that Bo Nix is talking about, it's growing, it's simplifying, and they're finally starting to see the fruits of their labor of, hey, we slow played this. We didn't go out there and say, all right, Bo, go get him. It was, okay, how can we, Sean Payton, give him all the hell you want about, the Russell Wilson stuff, all that. He's very good at developing quarterbacks, and it's showing right now. He knows how to slow play it to get them comfortable, what he can add each week, what they can do. And recently it's showing the rewards. They
got a good system in place. We'll figure out what's going to happen with Caleb, but what we do know right now, Brad,
we should ask our friend of the show.
We should ask our friend of the show, but it does show us we'll have to figure out what's going to happen for Caleb Williams. But what we do know is that for Bo Nix to be a better quarterback, in Auburn, because Auburn was a team that maybe Nick would agree with this. Maybe Auburn just overrated as a football program nowadays here in general. And maybe just the SEC is, and clearly the College Football Committee still believes the SEC is a little bit overrated. Well, let's bring on my friend and yours, future Pro Bowler of the Baltimore Ravens, long snapper Nick Moore.
Hey.
There he is. Hey, so Nick, are we thinking Auburn is a little overrated? Could we agree on that?
Yeah, they haven't been very good the last 5 years or so. I think their last good season was really 2017.
Yeah.
And then they ran into a team from Athens, Georgia in the SEC championship, and that was kind of the downfall of the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's Bo Nix, though, one of the top young quarterbacks in the league.
He is. He's doing really well. I mean, you got to give credit to Coach Payton. He's an outstanding coach. He's one of the best coaches in the league, and he had a lot of success with a guy like Drew. I know some people in here are calling him a system quarterback, but it worked well for Drew Brees. So I'm glad to see Bo's doing well. You love when these young guys can perform well as long as it's not against your team. And we were able to handle Bo Nix pretty well that day.
I would say that the Ravens did. I will also say, as a bystander and observer of this game, Bo did miss a couple touchdowns that could have changed the score. That there was like, honey, he's open. Honey, take a picture.
Yeah.
He did. But that's okay because the Ravens aren't going to allow a damn touchdown the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Real fast.
Damn right.
I was curious about that 2017 Auburn because that was, Nick, you were right. That was the last time they really had a successful season. Do you know who the third string quarterback was? Malik Willis before he transferred
to Liberty.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I
didn't know he was there. Well, Jarrett Stidham was a starter, right?
Yeah. And I'm just going to say, I was kind of looking to see if Bo Nix was there at that time because I was like, it's not out of the realm So
No, he started as a freshman, I believe, in 2019.
Yeah, he was two years later. But yeah, no, I looked because I was like, was he there by that point? No, Malik Willis was the backup quarterback, freshman quarterback, Malik Willis.
Well, and what's your thoughts on this, Nick? So, like, we've been having this conversation pretty much all season as far as like the development of quarterbacks and kind of the age difference, right? I mean, Bo Nix had a ton of experience, and obviously on the collegiate level, but a ton of experience nonetheless. And you have a lot of these younger guys. Not all of them are Lamar Jackson, or that you can just throw in there and he's going to all of a sudden be successful. Do you think there's some truth to that? Do you think that there needs to be a little bit more development of QBs?
Well, let's not forget that when Lamar got to Baltimore, he wasn't the starter. Joe Flacco was.
Yeah.
And he was able to work alongside a guy that had won a Super Bowl, that, he's still playing in the NFL, still doing it at a high level. I know he didn't have a lot of success with the Colts when he took over, but that guy had a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, and Lamar was able to work with him and then ultimately take over the starting role later on in that season, and he was able to flourish. But he was, I don't know exactly what week that was, but I would imagine probably 12, 13, 14 range towards the end of the year. And you're able to cultivate a understanding of the NFL. You're going to these games, you're not playing, but you're in the games, you're seeing the speed of the game, you're learning the system better, you're giving him more time to understand what's going on. And then when he got his opportunity in 2019, we all know what he did then. He became the MVP, his first year starter. And so that could definitely play into it. It's tough for these guys. Jaden Daniels to me is a remarkable story because there's not a lot of veteran leadership at the quarterback position in, let's say, Chicago or Washington or even in Denver. And for him to be able to come in and do what he's done thus far this season, granted, they have some very veteran weapons around him, and Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler and Scary Terry. They have some of the top tier guys at their positions around him to help him. But Chicago has the same thing. Chicago's been, for lack of a better term, it's been a dumpster fire for a while since I've been in the NFL.
Shit show, I'll say it, Nick. It's been a shit show there, and I want Chicago to be good. I do, but it's brutal.
Yeah, it's been a tough road for them, and I know they had a tough loss this week to Green Bay in another special teams fashion that we talked about earlier the week. But it's the NFL is hard, man, and it's very different than college. The game is played different. Guys are much smarter. The systems are much more advanced, and the players the age gap is crazy. I mean, we got guys on our team like Tuck just turned 35 today. And then you got Caleb Williams, who's 21, 22, 23, however old he is. There's just such a learning curve when you get into the NFL at all positions, not just quarterback. Obviously, quarterback has the biggest learning curve because they're the commander in chief of the offense, and they're the operator, and they're the ones that get all the hate and all the love at the same time. So it's a difficult thing for him, for Caleb in Chicago, and not having a steady system, having new coaches, and all that stuff plays into it for sure. And when you get a coach like Dan Quinn and Sean Payton that are established guys that have had success at head coaching positions and have also had some really good quarterbacks. I know Dan Quinn's a defensive guy, but Matt Ryan, when Dan Quinn was in Atlanta, I mean, Matt Ryan was one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And so they've been around successful quarterbacks. They've been around the league a long time. They have all that experience, and they can pass that knowledge on. And I think we're seeing the difference between those two systems and the system that we have in Chicago. And
what about, hey, Nick, then, just because you talk about with all of it and even your journey to get to where you are as a long snapper, you weren't the guy coming in. No. You had to learn that process, and you had some great leadership. I mean, you talk about what Morgan Cox has done for you, to learn the position. It kind of it echoes that sentiment, right? That you were able to take a step back. You had to grind and work on things. But even for your job and responsibility, there was a lot more, inner workings to your responsibilities to go out there and have success on a day-to-day, week-to-week thing for the team.
Yeah, and you can speak to this too, Ryan, from baseball. You know how difficult it is to try to make adjustments and work on things when you're playing games every week or every day in baseball, it's almost impossible to take something in the batting cage at 5 o'clock and then try to implement it into the game that night, because it's such a results oriented business. When you, like, I know for me, when I was playing baseball, I would do this, I would make a switch or change something in the batting cage. I'd be raking, I'd rake in BP, and then I'd get in a game and I'd strike out 2 times, and I'd be like, well, shit, I'm throwing that out the window. I'm going back to what I was doing, and that wasn't working. And so it's very hard to come into this league. You have no idea how fast it is. People can tell you, up and down all day long. The NFL is faster. The NFL is harder. It's more complex. There's so many more moving parts, all that stuff. Every game means more than it does in college. There's no cupcake games, all that shit. You can hear all that, but you don't know it until you get to it. And I was fortunate that I came into a place where I didn't have the pressure of having to perform on Sunday. So I could cultivate my routine. I could create my form. I could learn from a veteran guy who played 11 years at the time. I could work with him every day for the whole season, and I could really master my craft before I had to go in and then get the results I was looking for. Yeah. And so these guys coming in early that just get thrown into the fire. I mean, you're the number 1 overall pick. Like, there's no question you're going to start. That's just the way it goes. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to do, man. It's hard, and we're seeing that. We've seen that a lot over the last, how many years where there's been a guy that was a stud in college. I mean, you can look at all these guys, Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins, all these guys that have come in that were these highly touted players coming out of college that played at, Oregon or played at
Dwayne Haskins,
Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, how many guys were national champions or won the Big Ten at Ohio State over the last 15 years? I mean, how many QBs were like, this guy's going to be the best? JT Barrett, all these guys, Cordell Jones. It's like, yeah, Justin. Yeah, exactly. Perfect example. And all these guys have this experience in college, and it just goes to show how much harder it is to play in the NFL and how much different of a game it is. Some guys are built, like, I'll be honest, I think I was built to play in the NFL. Like, it fits my style of play. I do a really good job at what I'm supposed to do. And it fits my personality, all the stuff about the professional football. I'm so much more better suited for than I was for college football. And some guys are like that. Some guys are better players in college. And I said this, back during the draft, Caleb Williams, and Zach kind of touched on this a second ago. Your job as a quarterback is to win. That is it. Yep. No matter how you win, your job is to win. And this guy, the reason I didn't like him as the number 1 overall pick, and yeah, he had all the talent, and yeah, he had all this, but he's at USC in the Pac-12 that, let's be honest, they don't even know how to spell defense, let alone play defense. And he goes 7-5 in that conference. I don't agree. And then you got Jaden Daniels at LSU, where they're having to play Alabama, and they're having to play Georgia and Tennessee and Texas A&M and Ole Miss and all these guys. And this guy wins the Heisman. And yeah, maybe they didn't win all those games, but you got to look at the level of competition he was exposed to. And he was able to, throw for God knows how many yards and win the Heisman Trophy. And it's translating over to this level. He's learning the game quick, and he has veteran leadership around him, but he has showed up in big time moments in games for the Commanders this season. And he's been able to win the game for them. And that's your only job as a quarterback.
I think it's a great point, Nick, because experience is the only thing that's going to be able to help you get better. And I'm going to answer this in a couple of ways, because I'll start with the football, and I had a couple of baseball things because you just jogged my memory on a lot of shit. But for football, you're right. How do you handle moments and how do you get better at it? You got to be in that moment to experience it. And yeah, you might lose some, but you got to see some progress. And correct me if I'm wrong too. And USC was in the Pac-12 championship, so that was their biggest game. And they lost to Utah. And then they didn't have another big game that they could win that could get them back. They were knocked out early last year, if you guys remember. And they said, well, the team's depleted. It's a bad defense. Well, even if it's a bad defense, USC became uncompetitive. Then Caleb Williams didn't play the last game.
Is that when he cried to his mama? Was that
that was Utah, wasn't it?
You cannot be uncompetitive with the number 1 overall draft pick. You can't be. It's not possible.
No.
Well, usually that team's going to be in a better position too. And
yes, but look at
CJ Stroud is a good example of being number 2 overall. They were and they got robbed because Marvin Harrison Jr. was assassinated on the football field by the Georgia.
I'll say this: I think they would have won that game if he didn't get hurt.
Winning the national championship if Marvin Harrison Jr. is not.
I don't disagree with you, but they didn't win.
They didn't, and Georgia escapes. But then CJ Stroud, that was the moment there where I went, dude, CJ Stroud has kids. And that's your point.
Same moment. Yep.
The other part here about making it in-season adjustments, because I think people expect that. They look at like with the Ravens, hey, you got to fix this shit. The defense is giving up points left and right.
Schematically, it's easier.
Schematically, it's easier as a defense. But as a player, specifically individually, if you're going through things, it's hard to be able to completely right the ship while also being like, hey, I gotta fix this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of why maybe it's a different sense. And, even like with Tuck missing kicks, if he's trying to experiment, right? They're expecting him to make it, because if he's trying to work on something and he still misses, and then you have a little bit of a confidence, well, I wanted to change it. This is a veteran now. It's one of the best kicker ever. But just the context, the hitting part, Nick, I can remember so many times you sit there and you work and you go, I'm going to hit 400. I'm never going to strike out. I got it locked in. Then you face a guy who might not even be throwing 95, but then he carves you up and you go back to the dugout and go, what the hell did I work on? And then you have to have that internal battle. Do I trust the process that I might struggle for the next 2 or 3 games? I'll give you one more, Nick. I was on the field in Delmarva. It's down in Salisbury, Maryland.
I played there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, baby. So I was down there in Delmarva. I went on the field early with the hitting coaches and then it turned out my dad came down to hang out, and we were talking hitting, and I hit on the field, their hitting coaches, for like an hour and a half trying to find something. And I'm like, that kind of makes sense. I got it. I'm going to go to the game. That night, first 2 at-bats, whiffed every pitch except one. And that last one, I'm like, this is terrible. And the coach just said, you got to give it another chance. So I did, and I grounded out. But I had a different sensation, and I went, well, maybe it's going to be there. And then it was 2 games later, I hit an absolute bomb, and then I hit 350 over the next 2 weeks, and you're like, damn. But in your guys' profession, Nick, you make bad snaps consistently, your ass is gone.
Yeah, there's no tomorrow with that.
Trial and error. So, like, for football, it's even different than the baseball. But does that make sense to you guys too, Zach, with explaining that? So, yeah, and when all else fails, I mean, we tried that. Nick's probably worn a few balls in his day in the minors.
Whoa.
Hey, I never backed away from an opportunity to get on base, because we all know I was lethal on the path.
He was.
I was.
Nick, real quick.
Go ahead.
How long did it take for you to, obviously different position than a quarterback, but how long did it take you to feel like, okay, I'm used to being in the NFL?
I would say my 4th game was a game where we hit the 66-yarder against Detroit. And I distinctly remember it was the 3rd game that season. But I remember we played Vegas that year to open up the season. And I swear to you, I couldn't tell you one thing that happened, like, other than we had a kick at the end of the game that we made with like 42 seconds left.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what they did when they lined up against me, like what kind of rush I got on punt, nothing. It wasn't until the 4th game that year we had hit the 66-yarder in Detroit, and then we played Denver and went to Denver. And that was the first time where the game had actually kind of slowed down a little bit for me, and I was able to process everything that was happening in front of me. I mean, before that, dude, I'm telling you, we played Vegas, Kansas City, Detroit, and then Denver. And I mean, those first 3 games, other than I got a holding call against Kansas City, I couldn't tell you. Dude, I'm telling it was just that the game was happening so fast in front of my face that like my brain couldn't process what was going on. And like that, I'll tell you right now, that rush against Kansas City where I got the holding call, they had a tight end. It was number 88 is Forrester, I think is his last name. I think he's still actually on the team. They had like 44 downs, what we call it. All 8 guys were on the line of scrimmage. They had 3 guys on both sides wide outside the tackle, and they had 2 guys in the A gaps, 1 guy on each side. And they were trying to put me on an island because they knew I was only my 3rd game at the time. And So basically what they're trying to do is play a game between me and the PP and see if they can beat one of us. Well, that guy got off the ball, dude. And I'm telling you right now, I never saw him until he was behind me. And I instinctually turned around and I just tackled him. Like I literally tackled him. It was like the most blatant holding call you could get. Like,
is it
I mean,
2021?
straight up, this is 21. Yeah. This is Sunday Night Football, I think. It was when we beat the Chiefs. Yeah, we won 35. Yeah, we won that game.
Wait. So your fourth game ever in the NFL, you guys made the 66-yarder.
Yeah, because my first game was during COVID in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
and we lost 19-14.
Ever since, like your fourth game, you kicked the NFL all-time record as time expires to win.
That was my first game-winning field goal. Yeah.
Like a kick to win the Super Bowl is like got to be the only way to overcome that. Like that is an insane. Like, welcome to the NFL. Yeah, by the way, you guys just kicked a 66-yarder.
Everyone remembers their first time, and that was the first time that Nick will never forget.
Hey, I'm just glad that I did my job perfectly that play, because I have seen that replay. I swear to you, I've had to see it 10,000 times. I mean, it comes up all the time. It's always on it's always on my YouTube feed. It's always on social media.
I know you watch.
I've seen it a lot, and you know what? I do watch it a lot because
he does.
I was gonna say, I know when you see that pop up, you're like, yeah, I'll click on it.
Once
of course I'm gonna watch it. It's one of the best kicks of all time.
Yeah.
And
it is the best kick of all time.
It's like you know why I watch it all the time? It's because the reason that by the kicker, punter, and long snapper, the reason that guys can stay in the league for a long time, like Sam and Justin and Morgan and all these guys that play, 15, 20 years in special teams, is because of moments like that, where everything's on the line. We're about to lose to the freaking Detroit Lions before they were the Detroit Lions. Okay. It was
we remember.
We're like, dude, we are not going to we just beat Kansas City the week before. We're like, there's no way we're about to lose. It was like 4th and 20 when he hit Sammy Watkins down the sideline. And 4th and 19, I think is what it was. And those are the instances, and why Justin gets paid as much as he does is because when the game is on the line like that, kind of like we had in Cincinnati early on, we have to execute, because this is our chance to win the game. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was my first experience. I remember on the sideline, I was snapping to Sam Cook, and it was all happening so fast, because like we're sitting on the sidelines, like we're getting ready to go, but we're like, dude, it's 4th and fucking 20, and there's 25 seconds left in the game. We got one timeout left. Like, there's no way we're kicking a field goal. Like, there's just no way. Like, we fucking lost to Detroit Lions. And he hits him on the side, on our sideline. And so I look at Sam, my eyes are like, and I'm like a little bit of panic. My heart starts I could see I felt like I could see my heart bumping my shoulder pads, like moving my pads up. And I remember I did one practice snap with Sam, and I fucking sailed that bitch like way over his head. Like, he had to almost stand up to catch it. And I look at Sam. He could tell I was super nervous.
And you were a mess.
Yeah.
You were a freaking mess over there.
I was.
How did we make the kick?
Dude, I didn't realize it was an NFL record kick either.
Yeah.
Thank God you didn't, because you were shitting down your leg.
No, I know. So
we were wearing the black pants that day, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
We finished what happened, all right? So I sail one over his head. Sam could tell I'm freaking out. He walks over to me. He goes, man, just take a deep breath and just throw the fucking ball. And I was like, all right. So I go out of the sideline. I huddle everybody up. I count them all. I'm like, all right, ready, break. As I'm walking the line, I'm standing over the ball. I take a really deep breath. I let it go out. And we have that saying. I think I've said it before. We have that stupid saying where we say babies and memories. And so I remember I grabbed the ball. I looked over at Ben Powers was on my right. I looked over at Ben, and I was just like, babies and memories, man. And I just grabbed the ball, and I literally blacked out. I just grabbed it. And all I could envision in my mind was Sam Cook's face telling me to just throw the fucking ball. And I just zipped it back there, and it was perfect. Sam got the ball down, and everybody knows Justin. The rest is history. So I was just glad I had a guy like Sam Cook in that moment to kind of calm me down and bring me back down to earth and be like, it's just another play, man. It's 8 yards. At that time for me, it was 7 1/4. And he's like, just fucking throw it, man. Just play ball. And we did. So
you know what I was thinking about? It's almost like in a movie where you can you could even put the Moneyball music over top of it. And it's just here. Nick just bends over, looks down at the ball, stares over to Ben Powers.
Babies and memories.
Babies and
Is
memories.
it like the Moneyball and if you took the theme music from Moneyball and then clear the mechanism for Love of the Game, just combine that.
There
and
it
it's
is.
like that's the 66-yarder right there.
It's like one of those where it's like the what is it that goes around where it's like all the action movie endings where it's like that just cuts.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just Nick going babies and memories, and then just cut and goes to the credits. He just lays down and you just go, and then boom, cuts right to the credits, and you see Justin running down the field.
That would be epic. Yeah, that would have been an epic clip. My favorite cut up of that was that play to the Titanic music. That was a funny clip.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right
That was
there.
a good cut. I appreciated that one.
With Nick, that's great. But I love the story of it because it just goes to show, even at the highest moments, when you think everyone is nice, calm, cool, and collected, you were just literally shitting down your leg, but you guys were wearing black pants, so no one could see it.
Well, luckily, we had black pants on, so nobody will know.
No one will know, but it's the little things there, Nick. Hey,
also speaking of that, real fast. Sorry, Nick. All whites this week, not the.
Yeah, dude.
They did not
I saw that. When I saw that, bro, I was the only reason I was okay with it is because I got the sick all white Jordan 1s, and let me just tell you, those things are fresh. But man, I'm gonna look like the fucking Michelin Man out there this week. It's gonna be not good, boys. It's not gonna be good. All right.
This was last in the power rankings for Nick too, by the way, if you remember.
This is not my favorite combo here, guys. They're not doing me a service. All right. Getting to that. My mom's been up here for a month. She's a baker. So she's been working with my son. They've been baking every single day.
Loading up on the cup.
Yeah. Cookies, cupcakes, cake.
Your
mom
makes fire cupcakes, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. My mom is a beast of a cupcake maker. Her cakes are amazing too. So she's a stud, man. She's a great baker. That's me right there, boys. Get a little gif of him running. That's your boy.
There he is.
Actually, the best clip
side by side of Nick and the Michelin Man.
Nick in the all white.
The best clip to kind of summarize what it's going to look like for me on Monday night running down the field is fucking Marshmallow dude in Ghostbusters when he's walking through the city and all the buildings are shaking. And he's just and he's just taking his steps in there. That's going to be me. It's going to be earthquakes happening in California.
Well, you know what? If the boys win out there in the all whites, then you might have to continue to wear the all whites. I know it's not going to happen. We're
0-2 this year with the all white, so we lost to the Falcons and we lost to Kansas City. So we're looking to turn the tide right now.
Wait, Falcons preseason when you got your shit rocked?
Yeah, we were in all whites that game.
Yeah. Well, it's preseason, but you did get your shit rocked.
And then final thing real fast. I just have to say, Nick, on the money here, 66 yards. Boom. I mean, where else would you need it?
Right. It's perfect.
Doesn't look like a guy nervous. Doesn't look like a guy who's nervous. Right on the
His fourth NFL game.
Oh, right down.
Oh, and good. It was a good width there for the.
Also,
the
I do want to. I'll just
good
bring
stance.
It.
Good stance.
You got to take it from that. Yeah, you got to take it from that angle because it looks so much
better. You did
better.
not block a soul.
I don't have to. Nobody's in there. That's not my job.
You just started running hands up like there was.
Nick, a play's still happening.
Listen.
He said he blacked out. He said
I told you I blacked out. But look, when I have a snap like that and it's Tuck kicking the ball, I know the ball's going in. So I don't really care. I'm like, all right, we're going to party. I didn't realize it was that far. I swear to God, I did not realize it was that far until I got set in my stance. And I looked down. I was like, holy shit, I'm standing in the logo. That's not good. Usually Tuck's the one standing in the logo. I was standing in it. It wasn't. Then I was like, oh shit, this is kind of far.
Was it the same year that the Jaguars game, right? Trying to
no, that was
the next.
That was 22.
That was 22. It looked good on camera there.
Yeah,
I thought you guys made that.
Yeah, he hit that ball really well, but anytime you're outside kicking a ball over 60 yards, I mean, it's 50-50. Yeah. Because you just never know with the wind and if the ball is going to travel. When you're inside and when it's a controlled environment, there's, obviously the air conditioner is blowing, but it's not affecting the ball or anything. You're going to have a much better success rate.
Well, guess where you guys are kicking this week?
And it's actually technically not considered an inside stadium because it's open on the side, so wind is a factor.
Dude, did you see the?
Well, that's great, Nick. Shit.
Did you see the Aubrey kick that didn't count?
Yeah, he hammered that ball.
Holy shit! Look, kickers are going to start kicking the ball. So far, they're going to have to take into account like humidity and the rotation of the earth.
We do. I mean, not the rotation of the earth, but we definitely take into account humidity, wind, elevation, all that stuff, precipitation, everything. Yeah.
But then, of course,
you have to.
Kickers this year, it's just the weirdest thing ever.
It
Aubrey then
is.
also missed a 40-yard just right off the upright.
It hasn't been a great year for the kickers.
It's a weird year.
It hasn't been the friendliest to it, except besides like for Boswell drilling 6 of 6, which is like, damn, it's so easy. Aubrey, they thought was the next coming of Tucker.
Yeah.
And that hits a 64-yarder. By the way, the Cowboys, there's a penalty, drive extended. They get 0 points.
0 points.
And Aubrey missed a 40-yarder in that game, right? So just the weirdest shit happens there. But overall, like Nick, I don't even know how to fully describe it now with where the kicking game is fully going, but people are kicking for distance.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a lot more bigger blocks this year on top of it too. Like back-to-back weeks. I'm not saying that I hope it's not for you guys, but I'm hoping another team around the league blocks a kick.
Just so you can break it down.
can just break it down.
Yeah.
We all know what happened here, but
yeah, it's been a weird year for the special teams. I mean, we've seen some really great plays on special teams in all phases, and we've also seen some really like you kind of just scratch your head like what the hell just happened. And credit to the coaches. I feel like they're scheming up stuff a lot better. And they're anticipating in the players. I mean, the coach can scheme up the best play, and it works perfectly, but the guy misses the block. And we've had that a lot of, not us, but like it's happened so many times where like you have the perfect play and then the moment gets too big and the guy pisses down his leg and he misses the opportunity. So it's a credit to the guys that are taking special teams seriously and they're able to, make a difference in these games as we've seen last couple of weeks.
It really has. And Nick, I think honestly, the bigger thing here for now this week, take out the kickers. Are you ready to face Baltimore West? You ready to face LA Ravens out there?
I'm excited to see some of the guys.
They have a Harbaugh. You guys have a Harbaugh. They have Ravens running backs. Then you have obviously Ravens running backs there. Yeah. And they have Ravens front office personnel.
Yeah.
Literally every level.
Yeah.
They have Greg Roman. You had Greg Roman. It's very interesting. I think even Pat Ricard. Did you see Pat talk about it today?
No, I didn't. I didn't see it.
Can we play that clip for Pat Ricard talking about facing the LA Ravens?
Go around and say that they're the LA Ravens, just because they have so many coaches, personnel, players. Most importantly, they have Harbaugh's brother over there. And I think, they're similar coaches, so they need similar players, similar guys. So it makes sense that they're using a lot of people that have been here.
Can that track that they might, know a little bit more than just your average game plan of what you see on film when you're preparing week to week?
I mean, I guess teams see everything we do on film anyways, so the only thing they know is us personally. That's the only difference, I would say.
Knowing them personally, you're right, Nick. Like, you guys know each other, and Pat's right. I do think, though, knowing the organization, how guys do work is an advantage for both teams.
I was just about to say, it kind of feels like it could have that division-type feel to it, like a division game type feel.
Yeah, it will. It definitely will. I mean, especially after us coming off a loss, and we need to right the ship here, and it's definitely going to feel. I would imagine it feels very similar. John is very competitive, and he wants to beat Jim. I would imagine that everything they've probably been like that his whole life.
Yeah,
and so this is no different. But for us, it's the same. We're taking the same level of preparation as we would for any other game. I don't think we're doing anything different from any standpoint in our game prep, in our meetings, in our game plan, and how we're going to get prepared for this team. We're treating it just like we treat every single game, because at this point in the season, we're going into our 12th game. Like, there's only 6 games left. Every single game matters we talked about it the other day. Like, we're in the playoffs at this point. Like,
Yeah.
we're 7-4. I think we're like 6, in the AFC playoff rankings at this point.
Yeah.
But for us, like, our goal is to win the division. And in order to do that, you have to win this game. And we got to win this game, and we got to win every game we got left. So we're taking that same approach every week, and we're not going to change that. It's going to be laughs and stuff before the game. I'd imagine it's going to be good for me to see. I haven't seen JK in a long time. We got to spend a lot of time together last year with dealing with the same injury. Brad Bozeman, I haven't seen him in a few years. Eric Tomlinson was here for a while. I haven't seen him. Gus, like, it'll be good to see everybody before the game, but once that game starts, it's going to be just like any other game. We're not going to ramp it up just because it's guys we know and it's Coach Harbaugh's brother as the other team's coach. And he's been in this position before. He's coached against Jim twice, and in the Super Bowl and the biggest game of the season. So we're not changing anything. We're going to continue to do what we do, and we're going to look to make a statement this week and try to get on the right track after last week's game.
But Nick, there's got to be some like emotional aspect to this, right? Especially like I almost kind of like look back at the PQ situation in which like he obviously balled out and he was very emotional anytime he made a big time play. Probably going to see a little bit of that from like a J.K. Dobbins, I would imagine.
I mean, maybe. It's some guys are like that. Some guys aren't. Some guys need that extra little bit of juice to get them going. And it makes them feel like they're getting something accomplished because they have something to prove and they're kind of mad. I think JK's situation is different than PQ's. I think JK was looking for an out. I think he was looking to make a change. He had dealt with a lot of injuries in his time in Baltimore, and things weren't going quite the way he was imagining them when he first got there. And so for him, I think a fresh start was probably the best thing for him. And it's worked out well for him so far this season. I don't know. Maybe he's going to treat it the same way as PQ, but at the same time, like I just said, we're focusing on us and what we can do to win. And it's like everybody said, throughout the media all season, that the Ravens are the biggest opponent to the Ravens is the Ravens. And we're gonna make sure that we do everything we need to do to put ourselves in the best position to win the game. And we're just going to let the chips fall as they may and go out there guns a-blazing.
Hey, maybe just for people to give context, because you did spend time with J.K. Dobbins. As him as a person, when you saw him get through, and you and I have talked about injuries a lot, and I think especially for a guy being a running back, and it's no knock to the long snappers, Nick. You get up to 19, 20 miles an hour, you are a beast. Yeah. Running back position, it almost feels like it could be a death sentence for the injuries that he's had. Just talk about just him as a person, like his personality. What is one thing that you've noticed through JK in the time that you've known him? Like, what's something that sticks out to you about the guy, J.K. Dobbins?
I think the biggest thing that comes to mind when I think J.K. is his big old smile. That guy was always smiling. He was always laughing. He was always joking. He's just a really good person. And, I didn't know him that much at the beginning. We came in together, but he had some serious injuries. That first year, I was on practice squad, so I wasn't really around him that much because I wasn't on the team, and it was COVID. So everyone was having to be, apart. And then in 21, when I first got onto the scene, he had that knee injury and wasn't around, during that time. And then in 22, it was kind of the same way. Got to talk to him a little bit in 22, but it was really last year where I reached out to him after the injury because I was already about 6 weeks in post-surgery and with the same injury. So I just reached out to him as, try to be a resource for him and try to be there because he had battled through so much. And like you said, at the running back position, and we saw this with Todd Gurley. We've seen this with, countless number of running backs over the years. One major injury like that could completely affect your career, completely change where the trajectory of your career. And JK didn't just have one, he had 4. And for him to be able to go through that, and I could imagine how dark those times were. I know last year, it was tough. It was tough for me. It was tough for him. It was tough for, and he's had to do that not just one time, but he's missed 2 full seasons. And basically 2022, he missed the majority of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know how difficult that is. And so for him to be able to go through that, get his opportunity in LA, get a fresh start, and do what he's done this year, it just speaks to the volume of his character and his work ethic. Because a lot of dudes, a lot of guys, one injury, it's like, all right, I can battle through this. But it's that second one, that dude, you're like, man, fuck this, I'm out. Like, I can't keep coming back from this. It's too hard.
It takes you to a dark place.
It does. It affects you not just physically, but mentally. It affects you emotionally. It affects how you act at home. It affects, how you are in the facility. It affects everything in your life. And I had some dark times. I mean, this time last year, man, I was in a fucking spiral. So I know what it's about. And for him to be able to go through that all those times and lose his opportunity in Baltimore, have to start over with a new team. Granted, a lot of the coaches are the same. So it's a similar environment, but he's going to a new place. And for him to have the success that he has, I mean, the only thing you can accredit that to is his work ethic and his character as a human being, and his willingness to continue to go at it day in and day out when all the odds are stacked against him. I mean, if that man does not win Comeback Player of the Year, it's going to be an absolute travesty. It's going to be worse than what the College Football Committee is trying to do right now.
Yeah.
And I just think there's nobody in the league that has gone through what he's gone through consecutive years in a row, and to be able to show up and perform at the level that he's performing this season. I mean, it's like the kid's never been hurt in his life. You can barely tell that he's gotten hurt at all. So
I think it's an attitude. It's an attitude about which you conduct yourself on a day-to-day. We've talked about it on the show here, that a lot of people can be dealing with things internally, whether you understand that or not. And I'm glad you opened up about saying you were in a spiral. I had back-to-back injuries with my ankle to start my career in the minors on the same ankle, where I missed a ridiculous amount of time. And I'm sitting there in a dark place going, am I going to get back to that? I already rehabbed once. I got to rehab again. And your confidence is low, but you have a choice. You either buck up and go back each day, or you can just be, oh, woe is me. And I think what you're saying is JK didn't show it. Whether he felt that way or not,
never knew it.
On his face, man, and made other people feel comfortable and go about his way. I'm with you. Comeback Player of the Year. I'd love to see JK get it
100%.
Because I don't think people realize how freaking hard it is to put yourself through another year knowing that you might not be the same player you were and doing it again and again.
Yeah.
It messes with you. So I appreciate that, Nick. You're a good kid. I'm glad you're healthy too. You're back out there. You're having fun despite the white unis. I think the only thing I disagreed with you on it was I think the college football ranking is getting it right. The fact that you wanted to throw that zinger in there to talk about JK.
That was one of the nicest things Nick has come on this show and like gone on a soapbox about. I was like, hey, JK needs to be Comeback Player of the Year. It was like all this, and then he was like, oh, I mean, it's the same type of travesty that it's going on. He has to throw it in. I'm going to have
the same
in this week. I have to do a travesty counter on the Nick travesty counter, because last week when I was editing, I counted 6 times that Nick referred to the College Football Committee as a travesty.
Oh, we got to get the rolling.
That's the only way you can describe it. I mean, how else would you describe that debacle that they tried to put out there?
J.K. Dobbins, he might never play football again. It's like the same thing as Georgia ranked 10th. It's a travesty.
No. He's got to get Comeback Player of the Year, bro. That guy deserves it. Nobody deserves it.
1,000% deserves it. Does Georgia deserve to be in if they have 3 losses? Hell no. Should they be 10? Yes. Why? Overrated SEC.
Let's just look at the facts. Okay? Let's just look at the facts. Number 1, strength of schedule. Number 2, record. What do they call it? The strength of record. Strength of record.
You want to make a bet?
Number 1, strength of schedule. Number 2, strength of record. Number 2.
Hey, do you want to make a bet
Texas has this many wins against a ranked opponent.
This many.
And they're overrated at 3. I agree. SEC overrated at 3.
Oregon State's best win is Boise State, and they almost lost.
Oregon beat Ohio State.
Okay, all right. Forgot about that win. All right, cool. We'll give them that. That was fair. That's a good win. That's the best win of the season. That's the best win of the season. Besides Georgia beating Texas in Texas.
You want to make a bet? So the SEC, I think they'll still probably get 3 teams in.
Yeah.
At least.
I have Alabama winning the whole thing.
So I'm going to take it a different way.
That's a fucking travesty.
I am going with this, Nick. Maybe we'll make a wager. An SEC team is not going to win the national championship.
Oh, that's a horrible bet, Rip. I'm sorry.
That is a horrible
Just
bet.
look at history in the last 24 years.
I mean, you know what?
How many times has there been not an SEC winner of the national championship?
Well, last year, let's start with that.
Okay, since the year 2000, how many teams have won the national championship that was not in the SEC?
I'm just going to say this. I don't think an SEC team wins this year.
I'm just going to say
take
this.
That bet?
You're smoking. Yeah, I'm going to take that fucking bet. What are you talking about? That's a shoe-in bet for me.
I will say.
We got Texas. We got Alabama. We got Georgia. Tennessee might sneak in there. Dude, come on. Are you kidding me?
I would take.
Are you freaking kidding me?
On Oregon or Ohio State, if you're taking outside the. Like if you're thinking outside of the SEC, it's gotta be you're banking on Oregon.
I honestly, if A&M gets in the race of it, I got a better feeling with A&M than I do Ole Miss. Actually, that's not fair. I like to stir the pot. I was really trying to get Nick going, but I'm being honest here. I don't think the SEC is as good as they have been. I think of the Georgia teams, Nick. I think the Georgia team last year. You gave me Georgia's team last year. I'd feel better about Georgia. I'd pick Georgia to win the whole thing right now.
I'm not doubting that Georgia was better, but let's just look at who they played, bro. Let's just look at who they played.
Oregon hasn't played anybody. Well, they did beat Ohio State. Oh, okay.
One win, bro. One.
Okay. And the 12th ranked Boise State Broncos, baby.
I will say this.
Hey, if Primetime keeps recruiting the way he's recruiting,
let's go, Buffs, baby.
Pac-12 might be in that conversation.
Big 12, Big 12,
Big 12,
baby.
sorry. Big 20, whatever it is.
I'm not gonna entertain Colorado playing for the national championship. That's just absolutely asinine.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that
right now. Here's what we would have right now, and I'm not gonna lie. Ohio State's route to the
that's a fucking joke, is what that is.
Crazy.
Are you kidding me?
Not gonna lie.
I could play 1 on 11 and fucking make it to the national championship. That's garbage. That's garbage, dude. BYU, didn't they lose to an unranked team last week?
I'm with you.
Virginia?
BYU is overrated.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
they are overrated.
Boise State, they don't have depth to play against anybody. You kidding me? They played one good team and they lost.
They lost to the number 1 team at their place on a last-second field goal.
They played one good team and they lost.
Obviously, it's
Georgia's played 5 and they won 3 of them.
It's a lot tougher than what Ohio State would have to do, but still, if this was the current rankings, I would love Georgia's odds to make it to the national championship. If this was,
we all know Penn
State. I think their toughest.
Penn State's going to fold. That's a joke.
I think Georgia
they don't stand a chance.
They should stay at 10. No, I'm with you. I don't trust. I think that's an easy route right there. Personally,
it's easier than Ole Miss. Alabama's got a pretty easy route too. Notre Dame's an absolute fraud, so we don't even count that.
In this, Notre or Georgia would have to go to Penn State. But I will say, I wanted to say earlier, Nick, I love that you make some incredible references, and the Todd Gurley one was spot on. And I was like, oh, great callback. I was like, that's exactly. I was like, how did he just randomly pull Todd? I was like, oh, Georgia.
Yeah,
like,
it all goes back.
It's a Georgia Bulldog thing.
It all comes to Georgia, boys. I
can't wait for the next football ranking. We're not going to be able to talk next Thursday. It's going to be Thanksgiving. So we can. Hey, then Nick. Then before we let you go, we're going to do this on Monday. But do you have?
You'll probably be busy at work.
Monday, I'll be busy on Monday.
Yeah, he's got work.
I'm saying no.
Coworkers are working late.
Him and his coworkers, they got a late holiday
party. Holiday party. Yeah,
holiday party out in LA. If you for Thanksgiving, give me 3 foods that you gotta have. Let's take out. Don't say like if it's like turkey. He's one of those people. Nick Moore, what are you grubbing on Thanksgiving Day, man? What are you housing?
It's not Thanksgiving if it doesn't have macaroni and cheese. So that's number one. Mac and cheese is my favorite.
Okay, so that's on the list.
This is Southern.
Yeah, sweet potato casserole. That with the marshmallows and brown sugar. That's a game changer.
Jeff's kiss.
And my grandmother makes this famous. She calls it mud pie, but it's basically an ice cream cake with an Oreo bottom and chocolate fudge on top. Boy, that thing slaps. I've been eating that for 32 years almost.
You probably
now see how the whole heaviest long snapper in football happened.
He's probably having one or two of those a week now as well to keep that going.
It just happened overnight.
Yeah.
So macaroni
is number one.
Sweet potato casserole and the mud pie.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that list.
We're
going to compile a list for next week on Monday. We're going to talk about our 3 that we need to have for Thanksgiving. But since you're going to be busy out there and you're all whites, make sure you're wearing something good underneath, like underwear wise, where it's not going to be see-through, or if you do have an issue, that it's not going to be noticeable.
Yeah, don't shit your pants.
Yeah.
If you guys
I'll make sure I wear it.
Can you Tuck and Stout all do the headstand celebration together? Like just run midfield headstand.
I can go ahead and tell you my dance. It ain't gonna be a headstand, boys.
Oh.
I need you to score.
I'm gonna be dancing it up, baby.
I think we go head. You got it. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Who was the other one? It was Amon-Ra. Was it
Drake London?
Drake London, yeah.
Amon-Ra, Drake London.
Brock
Moore.
Brock Bowers.
No, I'm saying the handstand.
Oh,
headstand because
Brock
that
Bowers
was
did the
You know what's interesting for me? I know a lot of people it turns to that whole political conversation. I just think it's an absolutely hilarious dance.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So funny.
It's hilarious. It's a hilarious dance.
I mean, when John Jones did it the other night, it was so fucking funny.
Pulisic did it too. After he scored for the US.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's been going everywhere.
John Jones hit it.
Nothing unites the country.
John Jones then tweeted out and said he thinks he started something by doing it, and everyone's like, "What are?" He's like,
"Wasn't also the first one who did it?"
He was not the first. There were so many NFL players doing it, and John Jones was like, "Yeah, I think I really started something, seeing it everywhere now." And people were like, "What are you talking about?"
He's a little crazy.
We're like, "What?"
I have to give credit to Nick Bosa on that one.
Yeah, I think he was first.
When he had the sack and he army crawl, he stood up. And he's like, that was electric. That was an electric moment.
The trends that are starting here in 2024 are they're interesting. But Nick, appreciate you, man. I honestly, it's become one of my favorite. It's going to become America's pastime, but one of my favorite things is a fired up Nick Moore when we're talking about the SEC and how it is not dominant as it used to be. It's a great.
You know, the great thing about it is we're all going to find out.
Yep.
All right.
We're going when Alabama wins the whole thing.
And when I win, it's going to be amazing. I don't know what I'm going to get out of it yet, but
we got to wager something.
We'll wager something here, Nick, and actually talking about other things we got to wager. The Gridiron Golf founders are going to come in on Monday. We're going to actually promote and talk about how it all works, but we need to get you down here for a game, talk about it, and you and I can have another friendly wager and see what we got in store. But
I'm finally done with school, so
hey!
Had my presentation last night, did pretty good. So
present,
all over.
Present. Well, Nick, we appreciate you. I will talk to you soon, but be good, be safe. Go Boise State, go Buffs, and go Bulldogs.
All right, boys. Y'all be good.
All right, Nick Moore.
Hey.
Oh, good kid, man. He's a good kid. He's a good kid. I'm also seeing from Shekel. I know he wanted some trivia. Now I'm wondering though, what year was the Mayflower anchor? That's like a Thanksgiving. Maybe we need to have some Thanksgiving.
Yeah, wasn't it? I don't know, 1500s? Is it 1500s?
Spanish Armada was.
That was 1400s.
Well, now the only reason I'm remembering Spanish Armada was because of Billy Madison. Spanish Armada, 1588, I believe, was the year. Let me say. 1588.
1492. Was it 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue? What was that? 1482? Something too.
It's something too. We will have some fun with our Thanksgiving, but I love the sides. Nick's again. Macaroni, sweet potato casserole, and mud pie. I got to be honest. I usually don't have macaroni on Thanksgiving days.
I've never.
No, as soon as he said that, that's why I said I was like, "Oh, this is Southern."
Oh yeah, I've never had mud pies in my entire life.
I've had. I think. I spent time out in West Virginia.
It sounds.
That's really
amazing.
But I got to tell you also, we got a lot of things planned around the holidays, including actually sponsor Deep Eddy wants to help you make some great cocktails over the holiday season, especially as we wrap up and get closer to Christmas time. And with our friends Stuggies, they got a ghost kitchen concept going here, and they want to help with, it's not hot dogs, Pat and Stugs, which is the combination with Pat LaFrida and meats. They want to give away a tomahawk steak to a Ravens player of the week, and maybe they want to make that happen for our listeners out there. But what they are offering now, it's available on Uber Eats in the Maryland region here in Baltimore specifically. They're opening it up, but it's a ghost kitchen. But you can get it at M&T Bank Stadium and at Camden Yards when the time rolls around. We'll have more details on that to come. Should be a lot of fun. We're going to pregame show this on Monday. So Thanksgiving show, Ravens, Chargers, couple guests, maybe some other entertainment that could be on top of it that we might have to pre-record, but our listeners will still love Brad. So we're working on a few things there.
Yeah.
So do we play?
We got one more thing to talk about.
Yeah, we do. Do
you know what it is?
Yes.
What?
Does it begin with reaction?
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Chargers.
Ray.
Oh, Lewis?
Yes.
Wait,
I don't think it's happening. FAU?
Oh, we were way off on that.
Adam Schefter reported yesterday, I believe.
I saw something that
Ray
said
Lewis has
gonna
emerged as a
happen.
candidate to become the next head coach at Florida Atlantic University.
I saw it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, then I heard right after that, this is
A lot of rumors.
Yeah. Which I just don't think that would be.
My worry about Ray Lewis becoming a quote unquote coach somewhere is that he goes the way of Ed Reed over Dion Sanders, and that I don't know.
Yeah, it's not going to go.
I don't think he does anything as a coach anywhere, unless maybe it's
listen,
defensive coordinator. I don't know.
Yeah,
Ray was just too good of an individual player, and this isn't to say that he wasn't a team player, but I just feel like he's so focused on one thing, being good at one thing. I just don't know how that translates over into being a head coach, and he's probably self-aware of that. Otherwise, he'd already been a head coach by now.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that people kind of forget about was the part that Dion Sanders coached high school for, I want to say 6+ years before he even went to Jackson State. So it wasn't, he really started in high school. And let's call it what it is. Ray Lewis doesn't have a son who's going to then potentially become the number 1 overall pick. That he can just bring along to help jumpstart a program.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, I agree, Brad. It's one of those things where if he gets it, I don't think he does. If he gets it, that'd be awesome. Rooting for him. Hope he does great. But I'm not going to have the expectation of, another Dion Sanders going to take him to the next level.
Right.
Take him to the next level.
I just don't see it.
I don't see it happening. Especially FAU still is not even, and it's no knock pressure wise, but starting where Dion did and working himself up, where at the time going to a HBCU where they didn't have the expectations of where the team was going to go.
Yeah.
Right. And then he turned it into something that they became a force.
Yeah.
FAU has been a program that Lane Kiffin went there, who already had so much coaching experience, right? It was FAU that Lane Kiffin went, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it would be a huge step, and I'd love to see the success for Ray. But to your point, to build up your coaching, there's going to be still a little bit more pressure. It's not that you're going to be able to hide there. That's a program that has had some success in the past. So we'll see what happens there. There was 2 Ravens things, Brad, that I don't know if we should get to or just call it. One was about that John Gruden was talking about Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
Gruden's recently been doing the primetime matchup breakdowns, and I've been watching every second. He's
been locked in.
Yeah, he obviously some reasons that he's not in the NFL, but if you want to talk about just a guy who knows football inside and out, just at an unbelievable level.
Did we bring that up for pregame Monday?
We could do that. Do we?
Also, real fast, people forget Shedeur Sanders did commit to FAU.
People forget
before he decommitted and flipped to Jackson State.
The more you know.
Yeah, I only know that because Marshall was somehow in his like top 5 or something.
What?
Yeah, Shedeur. I mean, he was a 4-star. That was never really. He was never going to go, but
we are.
Yeah, we are, baby. Actually, speaking of, if Marshall didn't have just an absolute collapse versus Georgia Southern, I would be pounding on the door that Marshall needs to represent the Group of 5 in the. I mean, if we're,
not
the committee
Nick,
has
now
made
you.
the priority that good losses are better than good wins. And Marshall, if they would have beat Georgia Southern, their only loss would have been getting blown out at Ohio State. But apparently, according to the committee, that's pretty much a win.
They've lost 3 games.
Yeah, but you don't have
They
to
lost
count
by
the other.
17 to Virginia Tech.
No, but that was like the Virginia Tech game. We always lose those games. So like that happens.
Oh,
But,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But the Georgia Southern, when they were up 28-7 with like 4 minutes left and lost in the most Ravens-esque way possible, that's when I threw the season away.
Well, man. Wow. Well, I think on that note, we probably should. If Brad's just saying we need to get the hell out of here. The thundering herd, then the music gets cued. Well, then we will save the Emmanuel. Acho had some conversations about the Chargers. We'll save that for Monday's show. Kyle Hamilton, the John Gruden breakdown. We will also save that. And then we got a lot planned for Monday. So just so you guys know, we're probably going to start the show later on Monday to be able to combine our regularly scheduled show and our pregame content that we do before the Ravens games. The Ravens-Chargers play at 8:15 on Monday night.
We are trying to get some amazing guests for Monday as well.
We are. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Ridiculous guests.
And if not, we're hoping to get them on in the future.
Yes.
And as always here, be safe. Enjoy your weekend. Now, Brad, do you want to cue the music?
Yeah.
Here we go now. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom. As always here at the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button on the way out. Have a day, have a night, have a great stinking weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday for a brand new edition of the Ryan Ripken Show. Peace. Hum now.